The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Thursday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. We've got some breaking news going on right now as we speak, so let's go to the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, where TV21 Sports Director Dana Balish was the first to break this story. Dana, we understand the OHSAA has made a left turn in terms of the state championship weekend as far as locations are concerned. What is the latest, Dana?
Ron, from everything that I've understood, and sources close have told me that the games are moving to Paul Brown Stadium in Massillon due to the travel advisory in Franklin County, which is where the games would have been played at Fortress Obetz.
Okay, so because of all the Franklin County, for those that are not aware, has it far worse than our area, where there is a travel advisory going on. They've got a little far worse than we do. So that's the reason why everything has now been moved to Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. Am I correct, sir?
Yes. Well, yeah, we're assuming, and we have heard nothing officially from the Ohio High School Athletics Association, but I got to believe that's the reason, Ron. I mean, certainly this is a case where, these things have happened, and, in this wacky world of 2020, this is what we're dealing with. So,
Yeah. Before you broke that news,
this is all happening as we speak now. I mean, this meeting that was held at 11:30. There was some, from what I understand, there was some, teams not wanting to travel that far. This and that. Again, I'll go back to what I said before. All the games will be played at Massillon. You got to play 6 games. You'll have 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. Now there could be some minor adjustments, but from all indications is that the games are moving to Massillon, or have been moved to Massillon already, I guess.
before you broke that news, you broke that there was the emergency meeting at 11:30 this morning. When did you hear of that meeting, and when did you think they scheduled that to happen?
Well, I think there was some discussions all along since this travel advisory in Franklin County came out last night. Look, they were trying to clear the stadium by 10 o'clock, and that's why they moved the kickoffs up an hour or 45 minutes. Okay, they were trying to clear the stadiums out. But and again, I mean, if you look at Ohio State, they're allowing no fans. 12 miles down the road at Fortress Obetz, you were going to allow fans. It just doesn't look right. It just doesn't sound right. It's just not right. So, and again, you go back to where Massillon hosted these before. They're familiar with it. So, it's one of these things that, when Sunday comes over, everyone can kind of just wipe their brow because it's been a heck of a year.
Well, Dana, here's the thing: a lot of the divisions are going to be represented by Northeastern Ohio schools. So for the Northeastern Ohio schools, it makes sense. Now, I have to wonder. The Massillon Tigers are playing in a state championship game against Akron-Hoban. That game being played in Massillon, I mean, look, the fans aren't going to be there in droves, but don't you think that would be kind of a home field advantage for Massillon?
Well, Ron, look, it's 2020. They got to get these games in, and I think once the game starts, it doesn't matter. I mean, Massillon's not going to have 20,000 people there. There's going to be 1,500 there. I think, it's just fortunate that the Ohio High School Athletic Association had a place to go to. It's 2 hours up the road. And again, I'll go back to what I said many times. How many coaches have told you, I don't care if we played a parking lot at 3 in the morning. Well, this is the we're in 2020, and I'm not surprised this happened after the travel advisory came out and after what Ohio State did on Tuesday. This is not a surprise to me, and I think this has kind of been behind the scenes. I mean, I got wind, late last night that there could be some talk, and then this morning I really felt that a change would be made, and certainly, when I got in talking to various sources at 11, that I got off the phone at 11:20 with one source, and certainly, they said the meeting was starting in 10 minutes. So it happened pretty quickly. The meeting was over, in about 15, 20 minutes, from what I understand.
Now, they moved the kickoffs back to, deal with the curfew that's statewide. So do you think the kickoffs will stay at the same time, 1:15 for JFK and then 5:15 for Springfield, or do you think they'll go back to their original times?
The Springfield game was only 15 minutes. I think they'll kind of, do the same thing. Again, the curfew's at 10 o'clock. It's statewide. So I think they'll remain with that. I mean, look, they made a change yesterday on times. They made a change today on location. The only change they can make now is, okay, we're not going to play the games and let's flip a coin. And that won't happen.
Well, Dana, again, just a breaking news, and obviously, in the grand scheme of things, I think it's the right thing to do, number one, and number two, because there's so many teams in northeastern Ohio that are playing in this state title game, it's going to make things a whole lot easier for all of those schools.
Well, and again, you've only got 6 games now. Division I is done. Division I was done last week. So again, this is a case of where, this nothing surprises me. And again, that helps us. We don't have to travel the 2 hours now. It's an hour down the road, and that certainly helps everything out. So I would expect the Ohio High School Athletic Association to release something here officially in the next hour or so. But all the schools who are involved have been notified. And again, if you look, JFK was supposed to leave town at 1:15 today, spend the night in Columbus. Now, I mean, it's more of a headache for, not the game so much, but just the arrangements that have been made.
So one of the things that comes to mind, my curiosity is, do you think the OHSAA was insured for their, payment to OBETs now that they can't use it, or do you think they're on the hook for what they would have paid for that?
Well, again, I think the rent there was going to be dirt cheap. I think, it was a case of, look, I think what the Ohio High School Athletic Association has to say is thankful we had a place that was willing to take us for 6 games to play the state championships. They'll review everything at the end of the year. And again, this is a year that is unprecedented. Hopefully we'll never see a year like this again. I think they're happy to get these games in. I mean, the weather's going to be nice this weekend, and certainly, it's a place that, where football was started, and again, guys, nothing surprises me, and I'm checking some things here too as we go. So, let's see. So I'm not surprised anything has transpired.
Dana, always a pleasure, sir. Thanks for the reporting, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this is the last venue change, and we just play football Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I think that will be the case, Ron. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. 21 Sports Director Dana Balish with the breaking story. Again, if you're just joining us on this Thursday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet, Mahoning Avenue in Austintown, the breaking news, because Franklin County is in so much worse shape than we are with a travel advisory in that county, the state championship games have been moved from the Obetz southeast of Columbus. All of the games will now be played at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. Games will go off as scheduled Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 2 games on Friday, 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. The venue is changed. We'll still have a state championship game, but again, the venue has now been changed from Obet, southeast of Columbus, up to Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. Anthony, for the schools in northeastern Ohio, great advantage in that nobody has to travel all that much.
Especially for Massillon.
Well,
that's one of the. In a normal season, Hoban would be upset, but I think in this season, Dana said it, you're not going to have fans in droves because you can't. So there's not going to be a true home field advantage. Because when you strap on the chin straps and you play football, at the end of the day, in the field, it doesn't matter. So, we said it before on this show. Fair is thrown out the window this year because we're playing.
Yeah.
So Hoban, they're going to have to, everyone considers them to be one of the best in the state. They got to prove it. No matter where they play, they got to go and they got to, take care of business. They can't be complaining about Massillon getting a home game.
No, absolutely not.
And for all the other teams, like you said, in Northeast Ohio, including JFK and Springfield, it's about an hour off their trip. And now I believe they don't have to stay. I don't know how JFK's plans will change. They were supposed to go tonight, stay in Columbus, and then be ready for the game tomorrow. They probably don't even have to worry about that now that it's in Massillon. They can just travel down there tomorrow morning.
Yeah, now you just got to cancel your hotel reservations or whatever, right. And that can be a pain in the backside. But at the end of the day, it's a much easier trip for the teams in northeastern Ohio. Frankly, it's an easier trip for those teams on the other side of the state as well. You and I were talking before we went on the air. The 2 teams that JFK and Springfield are going to play, they're out in western Ohio. It's about a 3.5 hour trip to the Mahoning Valley. Well, take about an hour off of that, so they'll be traveling about 2.5 hours to Massillon. Not a big deal. We're traveling 1 hour. They'll be traveling 2, maybe a little over 2 hours. It's a centralized location. It's the birthplace or one of the mega places of high school football when you think of high school football in the state of Ohio. All in all, I like the decision by the OHSAA.
Yeah, and you can see it coming. When Ohio State came out and said we're not going to let fans in until, I think it's in middle of December is the date right now, there was no way you could think about putting fans in a game 12 miles down the road when Ohio State wasn't letting fans in their games. It would just be kind of, Dana said it would be a really bad look. I know there's a lot more travel for college games than state championship for high school, but still, it would just be a bad look. And I think the OHSAA made the right decision to just say, let's stay out of this danger zone Franklin County area and let's move to a spot that's as safe as possible. And let's go to Massillon, where we already know that we have had games before. It's a comfortable place, not just for the teams, but it's comfortable for the OHSAA. They've been there before. They know everything about the facility. So I think it's the best move they could have possibly made in this situation.
Well, and I think that it's going to work. It's going to work out for everyone. I think it's, at the end of the day, I think it's a great move. But I feel like we're at the end of The Hangover, the movie The Hangover, where all the guys get together and say, we must never speak of this. Well, at the end of 2020, I think all of us need to get together and say, we must never speak of this year, because, good Lord, this has been a weird year.
Well, we're going to have to review it and see how we handled it, because something tells me that now that we've established how we handle a pandemic, in the future, it's probably going to happen again, more than like when something breaks out and all of a sudden we have a virus. Now it's going to be, hey, this is how we handle it, because we've set that precedence. So at least now we have a game plan, and we understand that and this is going to be a framework for winter sports because we've survived fall sports. The protocols seem to work for the most part. So you can look after the state championships. You can look at the things you did in the fall sports season that made it successful, and copy and paste for the winter sports, and hopefully we'll get as full as possible winter sports season.
We have put in a request to interview Tim Street from the OHSAA, hopefully, and it's a shot in the dark because obviously he is an extremely busy person right now. What with the meeting, he is the mouthpiece for the OHSAA, so I got to believe he has a press release that he needs to make. But hopefully either today. Well, we don't have a show tomorrow, so remember, hopefully today we can have him on.
Dana is getting this from sources. It's not a confirmed press release, so OHSAA, released it. So that meeting probably is still going on. In my, if I had to guess, he's just like, these things are probably going to happen. They feel like they're going to happen. So it hasn't been released officially. He said it too. We haven't seen anything officially released by the OHSAA, but it's pretty certain that these things are going to move to Massillon.
Yeah, again, the breaking news, it appears that the state championship games will all be played at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon due to the very tough restrictions that are going on right now in Franklin County. We're going to take a time out and try to unpack a lot of this stuff. That's all coming up after this. It is a Thursday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Back in a bit.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters.
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
Telling more local stories.
We'll look at efforts
boy is recovering from a broken.
Around our valley.
Community in Niles. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect.
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
More local news.
In Mercer County Court.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
To Greenwood Chevrolet because
I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. Again, the breaking news for the top of the broadcast, in case you're just joining us, the state championship games have been moved. The games were supposed to be played Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Fortress Obetz, which is located southeast of Columbus. Because of the very serious orders that they have at Franklin County, they have decided to move these games from Fortress Obetz to Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. Anthony, as I bring you in, I'm looking at all of the teams that are going to be playing in a state title game. New Bremen is about 2 hours from Massillon. JFK is about an hour. Massillon, obviously, they're going to be in their backyard. Akron-Holben's 30 minutes away. Kirtland is in Lake County. It's not that far away. Ironton is the one team that is going to be traveling a hell of a long way. Ironton is on the Ohio-Kentucky border. It is a lot closer to Columbus than it is to Massillon. Columbus to Sales, it won't be in their backyard, but you're only going up an hour or two up the road. Chardon, pretty much in their backyard. Where is Van Wert? I had to ask where Van Wert is.
Van Wert is just southwest of Toledo on the Indiana-Ohio border.
Okay, that's
so it's
a couple of hours, maybe 2.5 hours. That's actually not that big of a deal for them. Mentor Lake Catholic, practically in their backyard, down about 45 minutes to an hour. Coldwater, again, western side of the state. Springfield, about an hour or so away. The only team, or two teams that are really affected by this because of the fact that the game's now no longer in Columbus, DeSales, and Ironton. Ironton has to make an extra 2-hour trip north from their town on the Ohio-Kentucky border. But other than that, everyone is fine by this.
Where in the Columbus area is Columbus DeSales? I mean, are they in one of the danger spots where they're in a travel advisory? Because they're in Franklin County. So I'm sure they're talking about maybe going up early. And
well, obviously,
I don't know what the travel arrangement is for DeSales now that they're going to have to leave Franklin County, which is in a travel advisory, and go up to Massillon. It'll be interesting to see what the OHSAA wants them to do about that.
Well, and that's the other part of this. You know, you do have a team from Franklin County and Columbus DeSales. All right, if there's a travel advisory, what does that mean? Are you not allowed to leave Franklin County? Are you not allowed to come into Franklin County? And if that's the case, how the hell does Columbus DeSales go up on Saturday to play the state title game? By the way, the game times have changed. Stop if you've heard this one. Friday at 1:15. It was at 1. Now it's at 1:15.
Well, Dana Ballish tweeted about 8 minutes ago that it's going to be at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So 1 p.m. for JFK New Bremen.
Okay, so then obviously the 15s are dropped. So it would be 1 o'clock on Friday, New Bremen against JFK. 6 o'clock Friday night, Massillon playing Akron-Holben.
Oh, okay.
You'll have 1 o'clock on Saturday, Kirtland playing Ironton. Saturday night at 6 o'clock, Columbus DeSales playing Chardon. And then it's on Sunday at noon, Van Wert will play Mentor Lake Catholic. And then at 5 o'clock, Springfield will play Coldwater. Again, these games are no longer at Fortress Obetz. That is an area in which Franklin County is under a travel advisory because they have COVID far worse than we do up in Northeastern Ohio.
Which is to be expected. It's more densely populated. You're going to have more outbreaks in a urban kind of area. I mean, it's not uncommon.
Yeah. So the games have been moved from Fortress Obetz to Paul Brown Tigers Stadium. Honestly, it's less travel for us, less travel for most of the schools, with the exception of Columbus DeSales and Ironton. By and large, I think it's a great decision, and kudos to the OHSAA for having the foresight to not think, which sometimes they do. And I'm not trying to nitpick on anyone, but they have a tendency to believe that Columbus is the only area in the state of Ohio that exists, and I'm relieved that they didn't decide to postpone this altogether. I'm glad that there's going to be a last game. You get the fall season officially over with.
They couldn't have done. I mean, that would have been suicide to do that again, to go through that again and just pull the state championship. I mean, my word, would that be a PR nightmare?
This is the same group that put the people off the floor in the girls' basketball
But the
games.
difference was, we talked in basketball, we were in like panic mode because COVID just hit. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. We were running around with like our hair on fire trying to deal with COVID-19. But now, I mean, things have changed since March. And hopefully, I was hoping when that meeting was announced, you're not going to do this again. I mean, we're not going to go through this again where we're going to pull the state championship at the last minute.
Yeah, you and I had that conversation. We were like, are they seriously going to do this?
No. I thought that the worst they could have done was saying there's going to be no fans at Obetz, and they're just going to play the game there.
Yeah.
That would have been a PR nightmare too, because imagine telling all the parents you can't go to this game.
Oh, you'd
have a riot.
You would have had a riot.
Parents would have gone down to Columbus anyway and said, "Stop us from getting in. Good luck trying."
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been ugly.
So they moved. I mean, they did a good job. I'm sure they had a brain trust. I'm sure there were some people in that room that were thinking cancel, and then there were the stronger heads prevailed and said, "We can't do that again."
Yeah, under the circumstances, I think they've done a remarkable job with this, and you got to go. In a crazy year that this has been, Plan A doesn't normally work. You got to go to Plan B.
Like Double A right now.
Yeah, we might be at Plan Double A or Double B. I mean, this has just been a ridiculous year to say the least. But there is going to be a champion crown, 6 champions crown, which is great news.
The other good news is this does not affect YSN's coverage at all. We're going to be there at Massillon. We'll have the audio broadcast as planned. It'll be free because it's going to be audio only. We'll have it on ysnlive.com/JFK and /Springfield. We'll also have it on our Facebook page. So, it'll be a fun time. This doesn't really affect our coverage, so we're ready to go.
They might actually have a broadcast booth now.
Yeah, because we had one last week, so I think they might have just kept our little sign there.
Yeah, that's hopefully they did. Yeah, hopefully they did. That's I will say.
How about Springfield gets to play there twice? I mean JFK.
Well, and here's the thing. We will speak with Sean Guerrero at 1:30 today, and we'll get his take on everything that's going on and. The last 20 minutes that have been a whirlwind where you're no longer playing in Columbus. Now you're playing in Massillon. Now you're going to be playing closer to home. What does that mean? How do you guys deal with it? Look, I mean, you're in a championship game, and we've said this so many times. We can call them up and say, this game's going to be played at 3 o'clock in the morning in a phone booth. They're going to show up in a phone booth and play the game at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right. State championship on the line, it doesn't matter. What we'll also do today, I got a chance yesterday to kind of find some film on Coldwater and New Bremen, so now I have a little bit more of an idea of what those teams are bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And we can kind of break down those matchups because we're not having the show tomorrow, so we can, get everyone ready for what they're going to see tomorrow. Well, hear tomorrow if they're listening to YSN.
Yeah, and
if you're one of the 3% that gets Spectrum, you'll be able to see.
Yeah, if you're one of the very tiny minority that has Spectrum, hey. Congratulations! You get to see the state championship game. For the 98% or so that don't have Spectrum as their cable home, and that would be me. I can't even remember the cable system. I mean, I got DirecTV, but over at my parents, they have They have some other
Armstrong.
No, it's not Armstrong. It's based out of Pennsylvania. I get all the Pittsburgh channels, which pisses me off.
Well, Pittsburgh's on the AT&T Sportsnet route, right? That's what the Pirates are on. So
yeah, but
AT&T cable.
The cable company is
it Time Warner?
Comcast.
Yeah,
it's Comcast. So obviously, DirecTV doesn't have it because it's not Spectrum. Comcast doesn't have it because it's not Spectrum. So I'm not going to be seeing the state championship games. However, I will most definitely be tuning in to ysnlive.com/WarrenJFK or ysnlive.com/Springfield, and you'll be able to hear both of those games. And again, you can't have the video because Spectrum has a deal with the OHSAA that they are the official television/internet/ video provider of the OHSAA. So
and we're also excited on Saturday at 8, we're going to release our first football level up, which is kind of a behind-the-scenes, highlight reel / behind-the-scenes documentary about Springfield State semifinal win over Fort Fry. I've seen some previews of it that DJ has been working on. It's going to be really awesome, so stay tuned on Saturday at 8. That'll be released, and you'll be able to get ready for that Springfield Tiger game on Sunday.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I caught a couple of things that they a little preview of it, a little snippets of it. It's pretty cool.
It's a team effort. I mean, like it wouldn't be as cool as it was if Jamie and Romo didn't have a great call. We were able to use snippets from Steve Leslie, and he does a great job with the coaches' corners with Sean Guerrero. So it's a really team effort, and we can't wait to release it and have all you guys see it, because it's a team effort at YSN. When we put all these stuff together, we're all putting input into it, and we can't wait to have everyone kind of see the fruits of our labor, because we've wanted to do this for football for a while. We've done a couple basketball ones. They've gone out well. And now we're finally pulling one off for football, and it is awesome.
Yeah, we get some serious fruits in our labor.
We got some fruits in our labor.
Yeah, we definitely do. The harvest is going to be abundant with this one. It's good.
Yeah.
I've caught some snippets.
Hey,
it's
and basketball
really good.
starts this week, right now.
Wow.
Knock on wood, we hope.
Listen,
I mean, there's a basketball game scheduled for Saturday.
Yet another reason why
Let's
we
go.
want Tim Street on. And again, we've reached out to him. We don't have a show tomorrow, so hopefully, in the final hour, we can get Tim Street on, because clearly we certainly want to talk and get his input on why and how this all came about with the state championship games being moved from Fortress Obetz, southeast of Columbus, to Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. But more importantly, winter sports are going to be starting, as you mentioned, Anthony. Winter sports start this weekend with some girls basketball. And obviously, we have been told that it's going to be a school-by-school basis in terms of, if you're comfortable playing your winter sports, go for it, do your thing. The OHSAA has not made an arbitrary decision one way or the other. They're essentially leaving it up to the schools, and we certainly want to speak with Tim Street about that as well, because clearly, if we can get the winter season to start, then hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't cancel it, or we don't stop it in midstream. We didn't do it with the fall sports. Hopefully we won't do it with the winter sports.
And I just got a text. Our GM, Steve Leslie, wants to call in to talk about the situation, the YSN's perspective, and everything that's going on right now. So I'm going to text him back and tell him to call in.
Well, yeah, he's welcome to call in.
The GM,
we're going to sit back and tell our GM, hey, I got a much bigger name on the other line. Sorry about your luck.
So Steve Leslie will be calling soon to talk about this another perspective of what's everything that's going on, and the changes of venues and state championship week. Let's go! I'm amped now. Now that we're kind of out of the woods and we know what's happening, and there's nothing on the horizon that says it's going to get canceled or anything, I'm really amped, because when Ohio State came out and said no fans, there was a little bit of a red flag in my brain that said, "Oh no," because I knew it was in Columbus, and I was just like, "Don't you dare do this." So it'll be interesting.
Can I just sit back and now say, now that the switch is officially in, that I am so happy that they're not playing in a one-sided stadium, that they're going to be playing in a normal football stadium. Not that Fortress Obetz isn't a great place. It is, but it's a one-sided stadium. Even in a normal setting, it would be horrible, but in a non-normal setting, it would be tough as well. I like the fact that we're going to have the games played in a two-sided stadium where fans are going to be showing up, and nobody is going to be seated next to a fan of another team where some words or some other things may be exchanged. I'm glad that the format is Massillon, although there might be some fans of Akron-Hoban that may be bent out of shape, but you know what, it's at least we're playing the games, and the fans are going to be able to show up, because you do it in Franklin County and you wouldn't have had any fans show up, which that just would have been ugly. I don't know how anyone could have possibly prevented parents from coming into Fortress Obetz to watch their kids play.
Parents would have showed up and said, "Good luck stopping us from getting in." That's what it is.
Exactly. I think it would have been crazy. All right, to talk a little perspective from the YSN side of things, we bring in the YSN General Manager, Steve Leslie. Steve, what's going on, brother?
Nothing. That's a pretty crazy morning, huh?
Right.
Yeah, well, listen, and let me get your opinion on this. I mean, before we even get into the YSN part of this, I just said this a couple of minutes ago. You know, look, Fortress Obetz is a nice place. It's a one-sided stadium. I think it's a great decision to move it anyway for the reason of now we can have fans on one side of the stadium, other fans on the other side of the stadium, and more importantly, you're not going to be sitting next to a fan of the other team where if it's a hotly contested game, you might have tempers that start flaring. It's a better scenario to have the games in a two-sided stadium.
Oh, I agree with you 100%, Ronnie. I think, and that's no disrespect to the stadium down there, but I agree with you guys. Once Ohio State came with no fans, that is a bad look for everyone involved to play those games there. And let's be honest, if you play the state championship games there and tell parents and families that they're not able to watch their son play the state championship, I don't think that would have gone well neither. But again, it's my opinion. I said it last week. I'll say it again. And Ron, you have, and so has Anthony. Massillon's where it should be played at. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's a great venue. The facility's fantastic. They've held them before and have multiple press boxes. So, hats off to the people in Massillon for jumping in and making sure these state championship games can be played.
No doubt. Now let's talk about the YSN coverage. Clearly, it's not going to change all that much. We're still going to be providing audio for the Kennedy game as well as the Springfield game.
Yeah, we will still do the audio. Obviously, DJ and Dom O'Brien will have the call. What time is it now? 1 o'clock, correct?
1 o'clock.
Yeah, 1 o'clock instead of 1:15.
So, yeah, we will do the DJ and I will do the pregame show, the primetime show from 12 to 12:30 on Friday, and then game time, and then a postgame show. And the people at Massillon were super to us last week, so we look forward to going back there. And obviously Sunday, the same situation. 5 o'clock, we'll do the pregame from primetime show from 4 to 4:30. We'll have some folks over at the Tigers table for the show with us in Massillon, so that's exciting. And obviously Spectrum is the home, but a little shout out to the Tigers table, Ronnie. I know they will be showing the football game. I saw some advertisements. You need to call there for a reservation. We will have a crew there, but they will be showing the game. My suggestion, turn the volume down and listen to Jamie and Anthony Romo call the state championship game while you're able to watch it also. So exciting times, I'm sure, for DJ and all of us and the things we do. Nothing really has changed for us other than not having to go stay in a hotel, which is completely okay with me, and I'm sure DJ.
I know you're
looking forward to it.
I know you're gonna miss a weekend with DJ to get some bonding time with our CEO.
I will miss the bonding time and relaxing a little bit. Anthony, I heard you say the show will be out Saturday night at 8 o'clock,
Yes.
And that's been a group effort. But I have to give a shout out to DJ for doing what he does and getting all that footage and the clips and all those things. All of us have seen a few clips on it, but Springfield Nation will definitely be thrilled to watch that on Saturday night at 8 o'clock, because that will definitely get them ready to play football. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, you're going to have to cancel the reservations at the Village then. I understand you were going to be you were going to be staying at the 5-star Village hotel in Columbus.
You remember the 5-star Village?
The Village.
Luckily, I'm not in charge of those, but that's I listen to you guys, and those are some of the tough ones. I'm curious to see Ronnie, Columbus DeSales reaction to all this, how that plays out.
Well,
obviously, Ironton, they have to be getting ready to get on the buses and get to Massillon, obviously.
I just want to know
Ironton and Columbus DeSales are the two schools that I can think of. I mean, the rest of the schools, they're in Western Ohio. New Bremen, you're talking about a 2-hour trip from there to Massillon. Same with Coldwater. Van Wert, probably 2.5, because they're in the up in the Toledo area on the Indiana border, 2.5 hours. Kirtland, their backyard. Chardon, their backyard. Hoban, their backyard. The only two teams that are really affected by this are Ironton, who's going to have to make a hell of a long journey, and Columbus DeSales. And here's the other thing, Steve. there's a travel advisory in Franklin County. So what does DeSales do? I mean, are they allowed to get out of Franklin County to, and are they allowed back into Franklin County?
That's a great question. I would have to believe that county's, however they want to rule that. What time are those? Ironton game is, what time is their game?
Ironton game is a Saturday at 1 o'clock, and the DeSales Chardon game is at 6 o'clock.
So Ironton probably is now calling hotels and getting on buses and getting in on the road to get to Massillon. That's a tough situation for them. But don't you agree, if you play them there with no fans, that could have been a travesty.
That could have been worse. I mean, I think if you would have given Ironton the option, either travel to Massillon with fans or travel to Columbus with no fans, they would have said, let's go to Massillon.
Well, I mean,
look, I'm with you 100%.
Guys, let's be honest. We would be the lead story of all the major news networks because blood would be shed if they had, if they actually had or tried to stop parents from showing up to see their kids play in a state title game.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And, we're excited. It's an exciting time to have two teams in the state finals. Obviously going to be two great football games. That conference is what it is for a reason. It's great football. But I think these two teams stack up pretty well. I talked with Sean last night. He's excited. I'm sure, Ronnie, you're going to talk to him. He'll be more excited for them to go back and get a chance to play where they're comfortable and played at last year, obviously, and JFK played there last week. So definite advantage for both of our home schools to have played there, have been there, and obviously a big advantage in the travel. But I really do. I think we come out of this with two state championships.
Man, I'm fingers are crossed. We're certainly hoping. I can tell you this, New Bremen and Coldwater are an exact replica of JFK and Springfield offensively. It's scary how much New Bremen and Kennedy have in common, as well as Coldwater and Springfield. It is frightening how similar they are.
No, there's no question. And I think with doing some of the research I do, Ronnie, I know you and Anthony have, all four of those teams can win games either way. They can win that low-scoring defensive game, and they can get in that shootout. That's what makes this exciting for fans of all these teams. You really don't know what kind of game you're going to get till you get there and see how it takes place. But I'll take my man Hollabaugh and Bo Brungard at the controls with our two teams and take my chances.
I'm going to say it right now. I think both games are not going to be decided by 4 quarters. I think both games are going to be overtime games. Geez. And honest to God, I think that it's going to be that tight and that exciting. Those two games might be the single two best games on the docket in the state championship weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I think our two area teams games, those could be the best ones going. Obviously, Massillon and Hoban. Oh man. Those two will get after one another for sure. And you know what? I think that the Ironton game will be a good football game against Kirtland. Ironton is that tough, hard-nosed town. Those kids will come into play. And I think the Menor Lake game could be a good football game, too. It's a great weekend. I can't say enough about Massillon, how that got maybe, I don't want to say thrown into their lap, but at the last minute they step up and DJ and I were there last week. The people that help run the facility and take care of people coming in, they were phenomenal, and I look forward to seeing those people again this weekend.
Steve, before we let you go, you've had a chance to talk to Guerrero all season. It's hard to go to a state championship once. It's even harder to go there again. What do you think has been so special about the way he's led this team and the way because it's in my opinion, it's all coaching to get these teams back to a state championship again after they went there the first time. So from your perspective, what makes him so special and such a great fit for these Springfield kids?
Well, you know what? You'll be able to talk to him here in a little bit, and you can hit him off of what I say. Number one, you know what, and he's part of my family, and that really doesn't have a lot to do with it. He's just a special person. He gets along with kids well. He's a fantastic teacher at Springfield. He's in the community. He does a lot of things. But to both of you guys, he said after the game last week that when they won the state semifinal last week, they were happy to get to the state championship. I don't see that with him this year. Obviously, they're excited. This is a group that is not happy to be there, Ronnie and Anthony. They want to bring a championship back to Springfield. And I equate that because he is a special person. and he has great assistant coaches, Coach Miller, that whole staff. But Slopek on the defense, and obviously Mark Brungard at the offense. He has people that have been with him a long time, that have trust in one another. That's why I will love when people get a chance to see Saturday night, that show. You will see what Sean Guerrero, the coaches, and that football team's all about, Anthony. They just play the game very well. They play it hard, and they know how to win. And I think that's going to be huge, that they were in it last year. Coldwater kids have not been in it. I look for Springfield to throw some punches early in the first quarter and maybe get up and get a nice little lead.
You know, there should be a theme this weekend for about 3 schools, unfinished business. Springfield is at the top of the list. They lost their state championship game last year to Anna. They're back to get a little bit of revenge. How about Ironton? Ironton lost last year to Kirtland. They get a revenge against the team that beat them last year. And then finally we go at about 50 years overdue, Massillon, Washington, who has heard since 1972, all these state championships, you won all these state championships because the AP voted you as a state champion. You've yet to earn a state championship. That's 50 years in the making for Massillon.
Yeah, that's going to be a fantastic football game. Those schools, not real far apart, and the Massillon people want to win a state championship. They lost in the state final last year, so that's a tough one to call again. But these 6 state championship games, Ronnie, you said it. These games all could go down to the wire, the last couple possessions, and let's hope you're having some fun on Monday morning or Monday afternoon on your show, and you're able to get Coach Perlogo and Sean to call in celebrating 2 state championships for our area.
And Steve, I know they're playing one of our schools, but New Bremen is a heck of a story, because a couple of years ago they weren't even going to have a football program. They built a weight room that kind of saved the program, and here they are a couple of years later, and they're in the state championship game. I mean, if they were a YSN school, it would be a story begging to be told. And it's one of those ones that you just kind of have to, no matter what side they're on, you just kind of have to respect the story that they're kind of putting together this year.
Oh, I have a ton of respect for them, obviously. I have a ton of respect for Coldwater. I was a part of a lot of those Mooney teams and was there and watched them in person, how talented they are. And you have to be excited for our area. I love it that JFK and Springfield get a chance to go against the big boys. Ronnie, you've said this. That's the conference that's elite. I think we're elite. Let's see what we're all about. And then I think the kids will be excited. And I think that we get a chance to show the area what Northeastern Ohio and Mahoning Valley football's about. But, Ronnie, you've done this a long time. So have you, Anthony. Think of what that place would be like under normal circumstances with these 6 games at Massillon.
Yeah, well, look, there wouldn't be a seat to be had Friday night with Massillon and Hoban first and foremost. That would be a sellout, and the town of Massillon would be pretty much ready to go in with pitchforks and everything. But Chardon, DeSales, Kirtland, Ironton, New Bremen, JFK, all of these games, Steve, all of these games are begging for minimum 10,000 people, if not more, because there really isn't a bad. This is going to be an embarrassing mercy rule type of loss that we have seen in the past. When you see the schedule come out, you're like, ooh, no, this could get ugly. There is not one game in this finals that screams this is going to be a one-sided ass-kicking affair.
I think Chardon does, to be honest.
Columbus DeSales is
the things that Chardon has done this year. They won their state semifinal 38-3.
I get it. Columbus DeSales is legit. Trust me.
I'm going to go with Ronnie. Don't sleep on Columbus
DeSales is dealing with a lot. DeSales is dealing with a lot right now with the Franklin County travel ban, and they're going to be. I just don't know. I just think that if I had to pick one game that could be a blowout, I think that'd be the one I'd circle. That it could be. It's not a screaming blowout. I get what you're saying, Ron. But if you had to tell me, like, hey, pick one game that could be lopsided, I think the things that Chardon is doing as a football team, they're just very dominant.
No doubt.
They're dominant.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's have some fun. That's all. We'll have the pregame tomorrow, 12 to 12:30. Obviously, DJ will have the call with Dom O'Brien, and then the postgame show, and then get over to the Tigers table, Springfield Nation. Call over there, get yourself a table. YSN will be there. We'll do the primetime show. Like I said, no disrespect to Spectrum, but just watch the game, turn the volume down, and listen to two of my favorites, Anthony Romo and Jamie Thompson. They have been awesome for the Springfield community, and let's go win 2 state championships. You guys have a good rest of the show.
That's what I'm all about. Thanks a lot, Steve.
All righty, have a good one.
Appreciate it. All right, Steve Leslie, General Manager of YSN, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. I'm going to tell you right now, Columbus DeSales is no joke. That is a really good football team.
No disrespect. I just, like I said, if I had to pick one game, if you said here's the 6 games, which one is most likely to be a blowout? The way that Chardon has been playing this year, the way they've dominated everyone and that's been put in front of them, I would say that one. This is, in my opinion, that's probably the one. And then if you had a second one, it'd probably be Kirtland, because Kirtland didn't miss a beat last week. They won 39-13. I mean,
Ironton's ready to get some revenge.
But what was the score last year?
It was like 16-7, 17-7, something of that nature. It was a reasonably close game. I'm gonna tell you right now what I think is going to be the second blowout. I think JFK beats the daylights out of New Bremen. We'll
break it down later. I think there are ways that JFK can run away with that game, and watching film on New Bremen, I think they have some ways that they can do it. I'm not saying that it'll happen. They have to execute everything, but there are definitely some things that I saw that really stick out that say, oh, JFK's got a big advantage here.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I think both games are going to be very tight. I think that there are a couple of things. If it goes our way, Kennedy has a pretty good chance to win this game comfortably if things go the right way. Honestly, I think both games are going to be extremely tight, and it wouldn't surprise me if either game goes into overtime. It's going to be that good. But like I said, that there is a possibility if the game is played close to perfection, JFK can run away with this game. And we'll see what happens, but it's it's going to be fun. This is going to be a real good time. And I, like I said, all 6 games. There's not one game in this schedule that screams this could get ugly. And who knows? Maybe some games might get ugly. I mean, no disrespect, but last year when we saw Anna in Springfield, I was like, well, this could be a fun game. This should be a barn burner. It didn't turn out to be a barn burner. So it's you just have to you hope and pray that
that's
both
sports,
teams,
right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as a Bills fan, I've seen it 4 straight years in the early '90s where your team shows up and you feel really good about your team's chances. And for whatever reason, stuff snowballs, stuff goes sideways, things don't work.
In that kind of game, the adrenaline's so high that if things go wrong, they're going to go wrong really quick.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really hard to turn that around. So that's why you don't see a lot of teams get down like 10-0 early and then start to come. Because mentally, especially in high school at this level, when you're jazzed up for that game and you get kind of tight because it's a state championship game, if a couple of things go wrong early, it's really hard to tell those kids to turn it around. And
especially if you have a team that's there for the first time, or if you have a team that does not have a lot of senior leadership and you're, quote, 1 year ahead of schedule, which is a term that we all use in this
it's almost become
format. It has. You're right. It has. In those two circumstances, you just sit back and, okay, this is going to get ugly.
It always made me laugh because, how can you be 1 year ahead of schedule when you're in the state championship? You're on schedule.
Well, no,
at that time, you're on schedule. I get the point, but it's like when you get to the state championship, that's on schedule to me. You might be a year ahead of what you were supposed to be, but you're on schedule now. So.
Well, and then here's the other thing, especially if you win when you're 1 year ahead, now you're talking dynasty.
And now
because everyone's going to be coming back for the next year. And
now you wonder what Springfield can build because a lot of people are coming back next year too. I mean, what can they build off of this?
That's true. Well, we've never had a team that's gone to 3 straight, never a public school that has gone to 3 straight state final appearances. So,
and when was the last time a public school went back to back?
The only public school
only time, right?
that has gone back to back, 1972 and 1973, the first 2 years of the
really
OHSAA
count? Does
playoffs.
that really count?
Absolutely, it does.
Technically, it does.
Absolutely, it does.
You didn't have to go through a playoffs to get there.
Well, you did. You had to play your regional title game and a state semifinal game. Now, you didn't have to play the amount of games that the teams are playing now, but to get to the playoffs,
it counts. I get it. I was just trying to bust some butts.
Yeah, to get to the playoffs, you had to finish in the top 2 in your region.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of teams from 72 to, I believe,
it just turns your regular season turns into playoff games. It's all.
Yeah, from 72 to, I believe, 82 or 83. The top 2 teams in each region went to the playoffs. There were a lot of really good football teams.
What we can say is Springfield's the first team in the modern playoff era to go back to back.
Yeah,
in the way that they do it now. First public school.
Yeah, in the 8 teams per region era, they're the first team to go back to back, and just the second public school in our area to go back to back. Yes.
I wonder how many public schools in the whole state have gone. I mean, I know Coldwater is technically a public school, but
Maria Stein Marion Local has, Coldwater has,
I wonder how many
Versailles
of them have done it
has
3 times.
Well, you'd have to really do some homework.
That'd
on
be
that
some
one.
homework for next year.
Yeah,
I'll save that for next season.
Yeah, that's homework that we would really have to immerse ourselves in.
It's hard to kind of do homework on high school stuff because some teams just don't keep good records of things and. You have to really dig. It's not like college where you can just go to NCAA and just, hey, here's your record book. There you go. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find some of this stuff. Like I was trying to find, recent film on Coldwater. I had to really dig.
Fortunately, the OHSAA gives really, really great records from their previous
they do.
State playoff
for the state
histories.
playoffs. But if you wanted to know stuff about For YSN, a lot of our teams are playing districts, so I want to go back and see hey, what's this team's history and districts and everything like that. You got to dig a little bit, and it's fun work, but it's not as easy as getting college stuff. I remember calling college games. You just get the media guide, and you're just like,
oh yeah, it's not like every high school has a media guide. Which would be
in
kind
a
of
perfect
cool.
world.
Would kind of cool to do that if the high schools were able to do that. But now you're talking.
Here's
about
all of our schools. I would love having if the schools gave me a list of their school records in case someone broke the record that night.
Yeah.
Because the one night 2 years ago, I was calling a Poland boys game, and Braden O'Shaughnessy was getting dangerously close. He had 35 points in the third quarter, and I look around and I go, someone's got to get me a program or something because.
Yeah.
I got to look and see if he's getting close, and he was 2 points away from breaking the record for points in a game. So you just never know when something like that's going to happen at night.
And then, unfortunately, you have to wonder about the validity of it because how many people have really gone back and researched all of that?
I trusted the program because the record went back to 1990. So that's from the record.
Yeah.
So if it's that old, I figure it's going to be right. If it said
wait a second, 1990 is not old.
It's old. It's before I was born.
That's
sorry.
8 years after I graduated from high school. What are you assuming over there, Junior?
It's old enough that I trust it.
Okay.
Someone's not going to fake numbers from 1990.
Yeah, nice to know that I'm trustworthy. Yeah. Then there we go. We're gonna take a left turn because Rob Schmidt will be calling in. With YSU, the first 4 games of their schedule have been banged. We're going to catch up with Rob Schmidt, let's talk about whether the West Virginia game is going to be played. The next time YSU practices, November 30th, that game is to be played on December the 2nd. That's only 2 days worth of practice. We'll get the latest from Rob Schmidt as we will hear from the YSU play-by-play broadcaster. That's coming up in a bit. Sean Guerrero just around the bend as well. We'll have him on at 1:30. It is a Thursday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Back in a bit.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gberbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Berbick Farms, it just tastes better.
With Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline will be up shortly. Breaking news, if you have just tuned into the show, the state championship games that were set to be played at Fortress Obetz, located southeast of Columbus, they have been moved. Because of the travel advisory that is going on in Franklin County, the state championship games for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday have all been moved to Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. So Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock, Warren JFK will play New Bremen from Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. And on Sunday at 5 o'clock, Springfield will play Coldwater. All right, we'll take a timeout from that, and let's start talking YSU basketball with the voice of the YSU men's basketball program, Rob Schmidt, who joins me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. Mr. Schmidt, sir, how are you today?
Well, we're moving forward. At least we hope we are. We were expected to be playing basketball next Wednesday, but now we're not so sure. We're taking it day by day around here.
Okay, now let's break that down. It was announced earlier in the week that an unidentified player or person involved in the YSU basketball program had tested positive for COVID. Because of that, the basketball team shut down all of their practices and whatnot. They are not allowed to practice until November 30th. Because of that, the first 4 games of the dockets have been postponed. And now, Rob, I mean, this begs to question. The West Virginia game is to be played on December the 2nd. Youngstown State is not allowed to officially practice until November 30th. You're talking about 2 days' worth of practice before the West Virginia game. Are the Penguins still going to be able to play that game against West Virginia?
Well, it sure is a quick turnaround, and that answer is really yet to be seen. You know, I think they've got to wait and see how the guys come out of the 2-week quarantine. Obviously, they can't be in the facility, so you know they haven't any. Obviously, they're not practicing, they're not working out. You know, that would put the West Virginia game in jeopardy. But, you know, you really can't make any official statements until you know how they come out of the 2-week quarantine. I know I've gone to West Virginia's website, and that game is still there. So as far as I'm concerned, you know, that's going to be our opener. But as you know as well as I do, that could all change, you know, in a moment's notice. It came out today that Robert Morris is now paused all of its men's basketball activities for COVID. So they're now going to lose their season opener and 2 other games. So So Robert Morris is now on hiatus for the 2 weeks. Oakland is coming out of its quarantine this Friday. So Oakland has been under quarantine when their head coach Greg Campy tested positive. So they're now coming out of the quarantine on Friday. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Oakland handles it, because coming out of it on Friday, they can open on Wednesday the 25th at Xavier as originally scheduled. So it'll be interesting to see if they do that. Coming out of it, they would have a very similar quick turnaround that maybe our guys would have before West Virginia.
Rob, you talked a little bit about the fact that we're not allowed to do anything until November the 30th, and clearly Jared Calhoun would like to have a few more games prior to the start of the Horizon League schedule, which is December the 19th, knock on wood, that's still going on. Mm-hmm. December 19th and 20th will open up the Horizon League portion of the schedule at Northern Kentucky. So assuming that we're able to play the game on December the 2nd, which falls on a Wednesday, from December 3rd through December 18th, we're hoping to get minimum 3 games to be played at Beagley prior to the start of the Horizon League schedule. Is there any update in terms of how far along Youngstown State is in potentially getting some teams to come to Beagley, or YSU has to go to their place?
Well, and the whole thing has been a complete mishmash after they had the 4-game schedule to begin the season next week, opening with, whether it was a non-D1 or a Division I opponent, and then the MTE that was supposed to be here over Thanksgiving weekend. Minus those 4 games in the West Virginia game, they still had not been able to solidify 2 other opponents. So anything past West Virginia was already a question mark. So I think you're right, though. They definitely want to play, I would think, 3, definitely 2, more than likely non-D1s to get yourself ready for league play. To me, and I don't know how official it would be, but I would think you would want to play that last non-league game December 12th, 13th, that weekend of the 12th and 13th, to give you your 5 days off before you begin league play, because that's how league play is going to be. You're playing either Saturday, Sunday, and then off for 5 days, going Saturday, Sunday, or you're going Friday, Saturday, off for 5 days, play again Friday, Saturday. So I think you want to start getting into that routine the week before the league opener. So that means their window of opportunity would be, as you mentioned, November 30th to probably December 13th to get any kind of games in. So I know they're scrambling. I'm sure they're trying to figure out the best possible way to get the guys ready for league play. But it's not uncommon that across the country teams are scrambling to find opponents.
With the quarantine, all of a sudden, of course, the thing we want to talk about is having these kids, physically ready to go play a game against West Virginia. But the other thing they have to talk about is just the mental side of that, and the fact that the mental strain that can be put on all of a sudden quarantine. So, what kind of things do you think the program is doing to kind of keep these kids together while they're staying apart and trying to help their mental health as well as their physical health ready to go?
Well, and I know that's always been a big issue now, is the mental health aspect of it. I think you've got to try and figure out a way to keep them engaged during this quarantine, whether it's Zoom meetings or anything that you can do, socially distance as far as through your computer, with Zoom and calls and texts. But they've just got to be able to, and I think for the most part, the men have been pretty engaged because that you still have a goal that you're working for. I think the concern in the fall with football was they weren't really, once they had canceled the 3 non-conference games and they were going through, in essence, spring practice in the fall, trying to keep those guys engaged when you knew there was no game at the end of the tunnel was difficult. These guys now realize, I think, it's inevitable they're going to play. The question is, when are they going to play? So I think that carrot is still out there to keep them engaged and keep them motivated with a positive outlook.
Rob Schmidt, our guest, he is the men's play-by-play broadcaster. He's also very much involved with the YSU women. And, Rob, the YSU women, we don't have that problem. We have no COVID, thank God, within the YSU women's basketball program. So How are how is the schedule for the women? Are they going to be taking off with no problems, or are they going to run into some difficulties with their schedule?
That's a good question. You know, they were scheduled to play Duquesne and Point Park, but you know, I think those games are in question because of the Pennsylvania aspects of things and how they've kind of locked down some of those schools, much like they had done in New York when the men were supposed to play Niagara and Canisius. You know, it's one of those when you leave the state or when you come into the state, you got to quarantine before you come back or go in. So I think that's put those two games in question. You know, I don't know what the count's going to be when they come out with the new state-by-state listings or percentages, if Pennsylvania will remain one of those red states. You know, much like Indiana was a few weeks ago, you know, when they were like at 16%. I'd heard, I haven't really seen a figure, but I'd heard Pennsylvania was over 20%. So if that number comes down, then those games could be played as scheduled. But if that number stays up and Pennsylvania continues with its current, you know, policy, you know, those games are in doubt. And that's what, you know, we talked about it last week. I think, you know, for the most part, you may see dates stay the same, but I think you may see opponents change at the last minute.
You know, in the Power Five, we see the ACC and the Big Ten. They all have their own kind of set protocols to deal with things. Does the Horizon League have their own set protocols to deal with these kind of things, or have they let the universities kind of set their own protocols each individually?
Well, it's a good question, and I think what the league has done, it's a little bit of both. You know, for the month of December, the league came out and said no fans at league games. So, you know, both our men's and women's teams were scheduled to be on the road in December. Now, oddly enough, they both open up home play on January 1st. But in December, both teams were scheduled to open up their first 2 weekends on the road. So it didn't affect us, but the league did come on and say in the month of December, no fans at your particular league home games. They left the non-league games up to the individual schools. So, you know, let's say we had a Horizon League home game in December, we'd have no fans. But the non-league games, you know, we were hoping to get what Ohio has already mandated of 300 fans for that. So the league came out with a policy for its own league games, but they've left it up to the individual schools for non-league games. So they've done a little bit of both.
Rob, you mentioned the 300 fan max for colleges. I understand that Ron Strollo, the athletic director or Department of Intercollegiate Athletics, which is a fancy word for athletic director, that he was going to petition the state of Ohio to bring more people into Beagley so that we can have more than 300 people in our 6,000 seats auditorium gymnasium. What is the latest on that, Rob?
Well, everybody right now across the state, and we just had a conference call yesterday for the Ohio Venues Consortium, and that includes, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland. That includes Nationwide Arena in Columbus. It involved Toledo. It involved Wright State. It involved Ohio State. It involved the Cintas Center in Cincinnati for Xavier. So a lot of venues, Cleveland State was involved in that with the Wolstein Center. So a lot of those venues were involved in this conference call and have kind of teamed up to try and petition the state. Now, coming out of that call yesterday, most of the schools are moving forward expecting to have no more than 300 people in attendance. They have all filed for a variance with the state. Most of them, if not all of them, were cleared by their city. Much like we were here in Youngstown, as we met with the city health officials. The city cleared us for more, but you got to go through the state to get clearance. And most people were saying on the call that we applied, but we're not holding our breath, or we applied and we're still impatiently waiting. On the call, oddly enough, it came out that the Covelli Center did receive a variance for a larger number of fans, but they, as the call went on, kind of beat a deadline for the most part. They had gotten in their requests in advance of this consortium, and they just, before this spike hit, they were approved. Now that this has come out with the big spike here in the state, people are not expecting that variance to be granted. So I think had we started basketball earlier, much like the Valley Center had applied for variance, you might have gotten more than 300. But with this current spike and the current conditions that we're in across the state, my personal feeling is it's unlikely that we would get more than 300.
Now, I mean, look, it's sports and we love sports, but let's be honest, this is also a business. I mean, Youngstown State, you guys have the lights have to be on, electricity has to be paid, officials have to be paid, the people that are doing the behind the scenes things, the scorekeeper, the timer, the PA announcer, they all have to be paid. If you only have 300 people in the stands, you're losing money every single game. It's sending I understand it's sending a message where, okay, we want to take care of some people, but it's also sending a really bad message to, and I know that it's not described as such, but small business, which is essentially those that are trying to put some people into the stands to watch their product. It kind of sort of is a small business. You're sending a really bad message to the colleges where, oh, you're only allowed to have 300 people, and we know you're going to lose a ton of money, but it sucks to be you.
Well, part of the reason that it's important for universities such as ourselves to have at least 300 people in the stands is, and you talked about it already with the mental health and the mental well-being of the players. It's imperative. This is I think what you really would like. Now, I'm not saying that you couldn't play without it, but you really would like to give them an opportunity to play in front of their parents and family, much like they did with high school and the percentages that they were allowed to have in their various stadiums. And they would have lost money too between concessions and parking. You're trying to make it conceivable that the kids can play in front of parents and family, and for us, you're trying to make sure that you can still take care of your, let's say, Penguin Club members, which is our booster club, and or season ticket holders. Those are the people that have been with you through thick and thin. So I don't know that we look at it as losing money. I think we're trying to figure out a way that we can best handle the game conditions, and give the kids some kind of an atmosphere to play in, while giving our parents and family and booster members an opportunity to watch those kids play as they have grown accustomed to. So we've had sponsors for signage and radio and program ads that we're also trying to take care of. If you have attendance, that allows us to still offer that opportunity to our sponsors, maybe at a discounted rate, but it still gives them some value to their signage and program ads. So there's a little bit of everything that goes in it, regardless of the number of fans that you have at your particular home game.
So I imagine after the parents, the family, the Penguin Club members, the season ticket holders, and then the sponsors that you take care of, there's probably not a lot of wiggle room for the general public to just want to come out and watch a game. If someone's trying to get to maybe one of those last 20 or 15 tickets, is there even a possibility for someone in the general public to say that they want to come watch a game, or is that kind of out of the question? I know the women play on Wednesday, so...
Yeah, I don't know that it's out of the question. I know that we have not come up with a definitive answer to that. And it's because we're still waiting to make sure of the variance that are we going to have 300? Is Governor DeWine going to blow this whole thing up in 2 days? So I think we still got some. I think we have policies in place that we're ready to announce, but I think they're still trying to tweak a few of those things. So you could be on the lookout for those. We may have answers to that here in the next day or two. So I don't know that definitively that I could actually say.
Hey, as long as Superfan is there, that's all that matters.
I love that guy.
Are there any changes to the gameplay rules that we should know? I mean, I know like in high school, for example, in football, the referee doesn't touch the ball anymore, center keeps it. Little changes in gameplay that the Horizon League has established to kind of keep the COVID protocol?
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. The only one that's really different now, when you watch or if you have the opportunity to come to a game, the benches obviously will be spaced out. Instead of 17 seats, there's now 22 on the bench. During timeouts, we would have our men's golf team would would come out and, sweep the floor, take care of any wet spots. Now the officials, that's really the only change that I'm aware of that's that dramatic, like, the beanbag being tossed and the officials never touching the football in the high school ranks. The officials now are responsible for kind of not sweeping the entire floor, but, mopping up the lane, making sure if there's any wet spots, it's got to be dried. They're putting that in the hands of the officials now.
Man, this is just a crazy year. I hope that we can get past this and get back to some normalcy, because it just I can only imagine the mood that Coach Calhoun and Coach Barnes and their coaching staffs have to be in order to put up with this.
Yeah, no, and it's not just those guys. You guys are dealing with it. We're all dealing with it. And, I think as you see, everybody's just trying to get through it as possible. I think if we follow protocols, I think you have to do what you can do. I don't think you can cut corners. It may be frustrating that others don't do what you do, but I think as long as we take care of our own business personally, it's the best we can do at this time. But I'm hopeful. I'm still excited about the upcoming season, and until it's completely wiped out, I'm looking forward to some fun times here at Bigley with basketball.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing games with you, partner. It's been too long, so this should be an awful lot of fun.
Yeah, the only thing is now you won't be right next to me, but I'll still be in view of you.
That's okay. You kind of smell kind of weird, so it's all good.
Yeah, this will be a bonus for you.
Yeah.
There are some good things that come out of COVID-19.
Yeah, this is true. Now I can sit back and go, Mr. Schmidt, you've made a good call, sir. I could be your Ed McMahon full time, and I'm far enough out of the way so you can't slap me in the back of the head to slow me down.
That's true. That is very, very true.
Rob, always a pleasure, sir. Look forward to catching up soon.
Thank guys. I really appreciate the time talking to you all.
See it. Rob Schmitz, the men's play-by-play voice of YSU basketball. I'm so glad I have a good relationship with him where we can have some fun.
My word.
He doesn't. Obviously, we're just joking, but well, not really, because he did slap me in the back of the head one time when I was trying to make a point for a few minutes, because us radio people have a roundabout way of telling stories and whatnot.
Talking in circles.
Yeah, we
all
talk
you do.
Circles, rectangles, triangles, and all kinds of other
geometry.
stuff. Yeah, and Rob brought up something really important that I think people need to understand is the mental aspect of it from the kids.
We brought that up in last week's talk with Rob as well. It's something that gets overlooked, because obviously the first thing that comes to mind when you see teams go into quarantine is how are they going to be ready to play when the next game clears up? How are they going to be physically ready? How are they, no practice, et cetera, et cetera. But the mental health of these kids is also important, and it can take a toll when you're all of a sudden quarantined and all of a sudden you're out for 2 weeks and you really can't you can interact in a way, but you can't have face-to-face interactions with your teammates. And a lot of teams, that's like a brotherhood. Those are like the guys you go to war with, and all of a sudden you can't be with them and you have a game in like 2 weeks. That can just be a really big strain on kids, especially when they're already straining about, finals are coming up and all their schoolwork they have to do. Now they have to worry about keeping quarantined. You definitely have to keep an eye on the mental health, and that's something that I think should be important and it should be, kept an eye on.
The other aspect of it is you don't want, from a player's psyche, you do not want to play in front of an empty stadium.
No, I think at the end of the day the players they'd take that over not playing.
Yeah.
But
it's different.
It's important to play in front of the people that care about you, the people that have been there for you. I mean, the rest of the people are fun, and it's great to have a crowd go nuts, but you really want your support system there.
In 2005, I remember we had a really bad time of trying to bring people into Jackson to watch baseball games. And a 70 home game schedule, we weren't even drawing 2,000 people a night. And it was to the point, the 2005 team was the best team in AA ball record-wise. And yet we were the worst team in attendance in the Southern League that year. And it came to a point where guys would, before the game, they would just literally say, I cannot wait to get the hell out of here and go on the road and play in front of real fans. And I just kind of did a double take and said, why are you saying that? They go, I can't play in this. I can't play in an empty stadium where there's no atmosphere, there's no nothing. It just you make a great play. You don't have anyone responding to that. It was just nuts. It came to the point, believe it or not, it came to the point where in 2005 we went to the Southern League Championship Series. Now this was long before the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. Like 11
they won
years.
in 2005.
Yeah,
right?
well, the Cubs won the World Series in 2016.
Oh, I thought
over
you said
the
I thought you said the White Sox.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, the Cubs won the World Series 11 years later. It came to the point where we were going to play games 3, 4, and 5 of a best-of-5 series in Wrigley instead of playing the games in Jackson, Tennessee. Now, as it turns out, the Southern League wouldn't allow us to do that. But that was one of the reasons why we were going to be playing our part of the Southern League Championship in Wrigley, because our kids wanted to play in front of 15,000, 20,000 people instead of hardly anybody. And the fact that the Cubs had never seen a championship team in history or since 1908, we were convinced there were going to be at least 20,000 people showing up at Wrigley to watch the Double-A team try to win a championship. So, but the Southern League wouldn't allow us to do it. So, it is what it is. But it's just, from that perspective, I can see where kids can really just, oh, God, I don't want to be here. There's no atmosphere. The people don't care. I could see where it could get mentally grinding on
especially
someone.
at YSU, because both these teams are used to playing at not capacity, but really good crowds. I mean, even the women's team has a really good crowd at Beagley Center.
Yeah.
I know that's not true for every women's team across the country. Some of them are going to be 15% capacity. That's like the normal, which is sad. I hate it as a fan of women's basketball. I hate it. But it's the reality that there are going to be some women teams around the country that are going to be, this is what we are anyway. This is our reality anyway. You know, we always play in front of basically our parents and our family. It's pretty much all the people that come to our games.
Yeah. So hopefully.
But for the guys that all of a sudden have to play in low capacity crowds and not have student sections and everyone go nuts every time you make a bucket, that might take a toll on the people. Cameron's not going to have fans at Duke.
That's weird.
That's
just going to be weird.
No one going like this when you're inbounding a ball. It's going to be great for the opposing team.
Well, look, the visiting team, there's going to be a lot more wins on that basketball floor this year than in previous years.
We're going to find out how much that crowd really affected it. I mean, you always say it does, but we're going to find out how much it really affects the game, because they're going to have to play without them.
Yeah, they're playing without fans this year, which is just
And
bizarre.
I get it, because Cameron is really packed in.
Oh, it's tight quarters.
I've been in that gym. It's pretty much a high school. It looks like a high school gym. It's really tight. I can see why they didn't want to squeeze people in there.
Yeah, very, very tight quarters. All right, we're going to take a timeout. Speaking of tight quarters, Sean Guerrero from the Springfield Tigers, his team no longer has to take the trip to Fortress Obetz. They're going to Massillon.
I give that segue a B-.
Well, yeah, it was
solid
kinda,
B-.
It was stretching it. We're trying to stretch to try to get a first down. Wound up short.
You're trying to pull the Dyson, and hey, I'm in the ins. No,
you're not. All right, I'll take a time. I'll be back with more. Stick around.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Point, presented by the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline will be open for business in a little bit, but joining us on the aforementioned MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline, the head football coach of the Springfield Tigers, Sean Guerrero. Sean, how are you today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Doing well. Now, news broke about, a couple of hours ago that the venue for the state championships has been changed. We're no longer going to be playing games at the Fortress Obetz, located in southeastern part of Columbus. Being that Franklin County has the travel advisory, they have moved all the games to Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. Coach, how did you hear the news, and does this really make a big difference?
I really don't think it does. Mentally, I think the kids think, you know what I mean? It's probably on a 3-hour bus ride now or not. I think our team travels well. But the game's going to have to be played on the field, whether you're sitting on a bus for 3 hours or an hour or whatever it may be. So news was just, it came out. I knew there was a meeting at 11:30, but I didn't know what it was, what was happening, what was going on. So it's just crazy. If it was going to happen, it's going to happen this year. So for them to be able to flip the switch like this and be able to turn this thing around that quickly.
You've talked.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, you've talked a lot this week about how the feeling of this state championship is a little bit different than last year. Last year you guys were just really excited to be there, and now this year you feel like it's kind of unfinished business. You're going there to absolutely win a state championship. When you look back at this whole week now, the week of practice compared to last year, what kind of differences do you see in your team preparing for this game?
Well, we came out this week. I still think, our not saying our attitude was bad last year, but I think we got a little bit more pep in our step. For that, I just feel, and last year was the same way because we had to win some tough games. So I just feel like our kids think they have a little bit better edge to know what's coming, going through the process. Like last year, and we had the 10 o'clock game. It seemed like we had to rush that entire morning. We got up, we had to eat breakfast, we had to get on the bus, then we're trying to get ready, and the game's at 10. So I feel like we're going to try to take a step back as a group and slow things down for our kids for the travel in the game to make sure it's not crazy. But with the game before and how they have to clean the locker rooms and this and that, we're still going to have to adjust with stuff. But just like this, that they're switching stadiums, our kids have adjusted very well through this process, whether that was going up to in doubles, not knowing if we could have a scrimmage, and then we were able to, or not knowing if we had a 10-game season or a 6-game season. I feel like our kids, just like they play, are very resilient in what they do. They have a positive attitude. And I just think, that the attitude of making it back there and kind of having a little bit of redemption for this on how we ended up playing, hopefully will make the difference.
Coach, last week we were talking about the similarities that you guys have with Beverly Fort Fry, and this week the same similarities. You have a great quarterback. The Coldwater Cavaliers have a dual threat quarterback. You guys have a tremendous skill position players. Coldwater has tremendous skill position players, and you guys play similarly offensively. It's a second consecutive week of looking at a team that in a lot of ways shares your type of style of play.
Well, Coldwater brings to the table is they run a ton of different formations, but they keep the schemes kind of similar of what they end up doing. So they're gonna throw a lot at us. So we just need to make sure that we get lined up. We know our assignment, and no matter what kind of smoke and mirrors they end up throwing at us, we just got to settle in and play football. Offensively for us, I feel like last week we had some missed opportunities, whether it's just in basically getting some first downs and things of that nature. So we got to be able to make sure we improve, because through games like this, you know what I mean, you got to capitalize on those things if you want to get a win. And every little thing matters. So I think with this in the battle of it's going to be turnovers. Who's going to turn the ball over more? Who's not going to be penalized? In the kicking game, because I feel like this is probably the best match that we have at special teams, because they have a very good kicker, and I kind of felt in the past that we might have had that edge in the special teams game.
Yeah, we've been talking about it all week, me and Ron. The range that you have in kicking has got to be a big advantage, because other teams like Fort Fry, for example, they kind of were uneasy about kicking down near the goal line. But you guys, when you get to the 15-yard line, you got to start to feel kind of comfortable about Clayton Midvac and his range. So what kind of advantage does that give you as a coach and decision making when you get down in the red zone about whether or not you want to kick a field goal?
Well, that's going to definitely, because I think you said the 15. Clay hit a 52-yarder this year in week 1, so I definitely think it's further than that. So Clay's a person who's stepped up and has done some great things for us special team wise, whether that's kicking off and pinning somebody deep, either inside the 20 or kicking a touchback and planting them on the 20. So I do feel like the experience that he has and with our staff and with our team, we do spend a lot of time with special teams. That's something that we really don't overlook. Every day we do a special team, and we'll kind of seek out 15 minutes of it. So that's something that they say out of the 3 phases of the game, you got to win 2 of them. Well, we always want to win that special teams phase.
Is there anything that you can be learned from, or any advantage that you get from being in 2 incredibly nail-biting affairs? The victory over Norwayne won in the last seconds. The victory in Fort Fry saved and preserved in the last couple of seconds. Is there any advantage to winning 2 consecutive nail-biters going into the state championship, Coach?
I'm going to kind of think on two things on this. I think for our sake, we know our kids are going to fight 4 quarters. We know that we're always going to give ourselves a chance, and I think between the past 2 weeks, we won a game offensively, and then we won a game defensively. So I think that gives our players some confidence in what we're doing, knowing we can step up and make plays when we need to. And then 2 on that, and I know people said this, all year about us and all last year about us. Well, they haven't been in a close game. They're blowing everybody out, that kind of stuff. What are you going to do when you face adversity? Well, I think we know how our kids are going to respond. They're not going to give up. They're going to be resilient when we do, and we're going to give everything we have. So, I don't know if Coldwater's been. They've been in a tight game with New Brennan, and that was it. But when you're on the state championship, it's a little bit more magnified on what you're doing. I know last year when we went in this, I think our kids didn't really settle down until probably the second quarter. So we'll see how they would react to this.
Talk about the Springfield community and what they've meant to this team. I know it's been different this year because of the low capacity that you guys are able to have, but one of the things that we've noticed at YSN from the get-go is just the community support that you guys have. Talk about what that means to your team and what it means to have that kind of feeling behind you guys where you have the whole community supporting you.
No, it's awesome. From the send-off that we had on Saturday, and the people that were not just at the high school, but we're driving down 170. I mean, there's people all over the place. And I know that means a lot for our kids. There's signs up everywhere, not just at the school, but on the street. And it's, I know at times it kind of, everybody talks about football, but this is a school, win for us. I know our band does a great job. Our cheerleaders do a great job. And it kind of does have more of a school atmosphere to it. And we're blessed. We're blessed to have the parents that we do. We're blessed to have, I think our administration's great. I think our teachers are great and supportive through this. So, I couldn't ask to be at a better place. I know our team feels like that. But it's very uplifting and positive. It's fun, and that's what it should be. Our kids should be smiling. I know when we pulled out of here last Saturday, our kids were smiling, and I think that gives them a little bit more push to be able to, or try to perform a little bit at a higher level.
Springfield Tigers head football coach Sean Guerrero joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. As much as the game has been changed in a lot of varieties, with from the wishbone to the wing tee to the spread to from running the ball to now throwing the ball a bunch of times. Look, the game of football is still won or lost at the line of scrimmage. Your offensive line this year has been nothing short of brilliant, as well as your defensive line. As you look at Coldwater on film, what sticks out about their game up front that impresses you or puts a smile on your face knowing that you might have an advantage?
Well, I think our kids are good, but I looked at, Norway's team where they were, totally outsized us. They were huge up front. I think we got a little bit of an edge, up front with them. They're probably about 215 to 240 up front, but we're very similar. So I don't know what's our guys and just making sure we're trying to get them to perform at a higher level during practice. And this is something where we even talk to our young kids. And I thought even last week running the wing tee and stuff, I thought our young kids did a great job simulating Fort Fry, trying to get our kids, prepared for that. So this week we're gonna challenge our kids. I think we slowed down practice a little bit to making sure that we're trying to cross our T and dot our I's in our game plan of what we're doing, maybe trying to simplify it a little bit. But going through it, those guys up front, they don't get enough credit because they grind every day, We can go out and run routes and play catch and do all that kind of stuff at practice, but those guys are hitting no matter if we're in shells or we're, going a live period. So those guys do a lot of hard work, and they don't get enough credit, of our football team.
Last week with the wing tee, it was all about assignment football on defense, and you guys did a great job of just sticking to your assignments, defense doing their job, and that's one of the reasons why you slowed them down so much. Coldwater doesn't run the wing tee, but like you said, they run a lot of different formations, so it's still all about assignment football. How impressed have you been with your defense's discipline and their ability to kind of just stick to their job and not fall for some of the smoke and mirrors or the curtain stuff that the teams can do pre-snap to kind of get defenses confused?
Well, I think this week, too, that's some stuff that we try to do, too. We do show a lot of different formations. That we do. We can come out and go 5 wide. The next play, we might be out in 2 back, double tight. So I think our kids will be used to this. So that's, on both sides of the ball. I think they will, too. And we kind of run scheme-wise, a lot of the same things. So I think it's going to be more this week will be more about execution. Again, about who's going to make the mistake or turn the ball over. So on that part of it, I think it's going to be a pretty even battle going through scheme or game planning type stuff.
Okay, we've won a game offensively in the last few seconds. We've won a game defensively in the last few seconds. What do you say Sunday afternoon at about 7:30 with 2 seconds left in the game? Springfield's down 2. Clayton Medvick kicks a 40-yard field goal that sends the Tigers to a state championship game, and you complete the trifecta.
I know our kids will be ready to do whatever they have to do to win it. I feel in their hearts and in their minds that they're going to end up doing that. So we're going to come out and up in Massillon, and our kids will be ready to perform, and we'll do what we have to do to try to get this victory.
Hey, Coach, best of luck to you on Sunday afternoon. It's weird that you guys are going to be playing a game on a Sunday afternoon, but, hey, that's all right. It's the state championship. Let's have some fun.
I agree with you. We'll play in the parking lot if we have to just to play it. So we'll be ready.
All right, Coach. All the best to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You got it. Sean Guerrero, the head football coach of the Springfield Tigers. Wouldn't that be cool if you the offense has been the winning tally in 2 weeks ago against Norwayne. The defense held Fort Fry 1 yard shy of winning a ball game. Now it's time for Clayton Medvick and the special teams to get in on the act and win the title.
You know he can do clutch because this field goal last week was clutch. They were tied. It was by and far a game-winning field goal. I mean, it was the difference. So he can definitely do clutch, and he can put on that cape if they need it. So that's what makes him such a huge advantage. And Guerrero made a good point. He made a 52-yarder in week 1. He's definitely got the range, and you feel comfortable with him, at the 25-yard line. You can say, hey, let's just kick a field goal. And I think the end of halftime will also be important. I mean, if the Tigers get the ball, at the end of halftime, they can be in field goal range pretty quick. And getting a score before half, whether you get the ball next or you don't, either way, that's going to be a big momentum swing. So I think, if the Tigers can get that last possession before halftime, that's also a big advantage to have Medvac back there. Because if you can't get into the end zone, you at least get a field goal that you can kind of carry momentum into the locker room.
Okay, there's a couple of things that we want to certainly dive into. Coldwater, like Springfield, is 11-0. They've gone through their Midwest Athletic Conference pretty quickly. St. Henry, they shut them out 21-0. They blew out Minster by 35. Fort Recovery by 14. New Bremen by 17. Delphos St. John by 44. Anna by 40. They went to the playoffs first round. They beat New Louisburg Triad by 31 points. The only game that they have been challenged, the rematch to Fort Recovery, they won 28-23. That was a quarterfinal game in their region. They beat West Jefferson 42-7. They beat Mechanicsburg to win the region 35-14, and they went and won the state semifinal game against Columbus Grove 41-27.
That was a little closer than Fort. I mean, I think at halftime, Columbus Grove had a lead.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was one of those games. It was a little bit closer than the score kind of indicates, and it was 41-20, and then with, I think, 6 minutes left, Columbus Grove scored to make it a 2-possession game. So their defense still had to take care of business because 6 minutes to go in a 2-possession game, that's not out of the woods.
And they were down. They were down at halftime, but they put up some just enormous numbers in the third quarter.
They can score quick. I mean, they are a quick strike team, which is not used to. When you watch Coldwater in the past, they were lined up. They're going to beat you up. They're going to run the ball down your throat. That was their motto. They can still do that, but now they can really score late and quick. They have really good receivers on the outside, and they can. And like we said before, they have a dynamic quarterback, so they can score in a hurry if need be.
Yeah, we're going to break down the both games in terms of who to look for and whatnot, because Coldwater runs a lot of similar things with Springfield. They do a few more things out of the same formation, but. It's pretty similar. They both have tremendous quarterbacks, tremendous supporting cast. They both get the job done really well up front. New Bremen is much more identical to JFK.
New Bremen's a little bit more. They're a little bit more chaotic than JFK. They like to do a lot of stuff out of schedule. They'll move the pocket a lot. JFK, they have a dual threat quarterback, but it's more like design.
Yeah.
So I feel like JFK is by design. And then New Bremen likes to just throw
They're controlled chaos.
Right. I mean, it's funny. They're kind of like he nailed it when we talked to Pro Logo. They're kind of like Texas A&M with Johnny Manziel because they ran a lot of stuff that was just completely off schedule. That's how they got a lot of their big plays. And New Bremen does a lot of that. So if you can stay disciplined, it's all going to be penetration. The way you beat that is you contain and you penetrate. And if JFK's defensive line can break up plays, and then their ends can contain, then they're going to have a good time with teams that like to be out of schedule.
Yeah, you cannot allow their quarterback, New Bremen's quarterback, to break containment because that's when the
that's
disaster
when he can run
happens.
around for 5 or 6 seconds, and he does a really good job of keeping his eyes downfield. So if he breaks contain, the secondary is going to have to stay on their guy for an extra 3 or 4 seconds because he's liable to just chuck the ball, while he's running to a wide open receiver because all of a sudden that secondary broke down when the play got out of schedule.
And there's a big difference, and not all quarterbacks do this. There is a big difference between running, breaking containment, and your eyes are down. You're not really looking downfield. You're more interested now in running as far as you possibly can. A lot of quarterbacks will do that. There are some quarterbacks I would consider to be elite quarterbacks that always keep their eyes down the field, just to make sure, hey, if I'm not past the line of scrimmage, I can throw this ball downfield if there's someone open. The elite quarterbacks keep their eyes down the field.
Yeah, like a lot of quarterbacks when the play breaks down, they're just let's run.
Yeah,
let's run. And this quarterback, he's liable to do that, but I've also seen plays where he really does a good job keeping his eyes downfield, and he finds someone that's wide open that wasn't by design. They have a 6'2" receiver on the outside.
He's going to be a problem.
But I think JFK can really play press coverage because not a lot of teams do. They play off of him, which I don't know. I mean, of course you want to. But, his route running isn't great. I feel like if you can bump him at the line and be physical with him, I think you can catch him, and knock him off his route a little bit. So I think JFK has the ability their safeties are pretty good, so they can come up and they can take some risks with their cornerbacks, play that guy physical a little bit at the line of scrimmage, knock him off his route, and I think they'll be able to contain him a little bit too because not a lot of teams play him physical because they don't have the safety help, so they have to make sure the cornerback stays off and they play kind of loose coverage on the outside.
Here's the other part of that. He likes to make catches over the middle. If somebody can one of those numbers and remind him, don't you ever come over the middle because we're going to do this over and over and over again. That's the fastest way to get someone's attention. JFK is physical enough, and you don't want to you don't want to do it where you're going to get penalized 15 yards for unnecessary roughness. But even if you do, you're still sending a message of you're not coming over the middle unless you're willing to be really paid for what you're planning on doing.
I would tell my corners, I'd be okay with a couple of holding penalties on the outside or something, just to be physical with that guy and make his job not easy. Because if you break down his route, like I said, he's not a tremendous route runner, and if you can knock him off his spot, then I think you can really knock off his game. So I would be interested to see if they play really physical with the corner position. And maybe they take a couple of holding penalties every now and then and sacrifice that because of it. But if it in turn holds him to 2 catches for 20 yards or whatever, then I think that's worth it.
But he's a big part of the offense.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question about that. He is a very big part of that offense. But the offense begins and ends with that really, really impressive quarterback of theirs, and Mitchell Hayes is who we're talking about. He is he's good. I don't know if he's Hollabaugh good, but he is good.
Well, like I said, the difference is that Hollabaugh does a lot of stuff by design, and Hayes does a lot of stuff off schedule. And both of them are good for what the system is put in place for them. So they're a little bit different in that sense. But I think on offense, JFK's got a huge advantage up the middle. I think they're more physical up the middle. I think they can run. It's boring, but I think they can get some of those QB follows where it's a run pass option and they just follow his Lakins right up the middle. And I think he can find some room up the middle in there. I feel like the middle of JFK's offensive line can push around the middle of New Bremen's defense.
And this could very well be a track meet if you think about it. You look at the teams offensively. New Bremen, again, in the Midwest Athletic Conference, you look at the 6-game conference schedule that they played, they only went above 30 points 3 times. They beat Delphus St. John in Week 3, 38-6. They beat Anna 38-7 in Week 5, and then they closed out the season by beating Versailles 36-7. In the playoffs, they've only scored over 30 points 1 time, and that was the opening round of the playoffs for them when they beat South. What the hell's the name of the school? South Christian Southeastern. They put up 52 points. Since then, now, again, they played 3 consecutive teams out of the Midwest Athletic Conference. They didn't play St. Henry and Fort Laramie in the regular season. They played them in the postseason, beat St. Henry 28-13, beat Fort Laramie 16-8. Rematch with a loss against Marion Local, one of 2 losses in the campaign. They lost to Coldwater as well, 24-7. They lost to Marion Local 21-13 in the regular season. They beat them in the regional championship game 24-17, and then they barely squeaked by Lima Central Catholic in the state semifinals 28-26. So offensively, they've only put up 30 or more points 4 times this year in 11 games.
Their defense is good. Their defense reminds me a lot of Norwalk, St. Paul. The things they do, they rely on their physicality, but their physicality comes from the edges. And I feel like if I decide as watching tape, I feel like the middle is going to be where JFK has a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting.
New Bremen's edges are really good.
Yeah. Now, and again, the kid that everyone needs to keep an eye on offensively when New Bremen has the ball, the receiver that we're talking about, Dan Holman, he's as good as it gets in Division 7 this year.
Do you have his stats?
30 receptions, 558 yards, 7 touchdowns this year. So he's averaging a tick under 20 yards a catch.
They do a lot of bubble screens with him too, because he's enough that he can catch it. He's a big body. He's hard to tackle. So I expect them to screen him a lot, but that's another advantage of playing up close and playing press coverage. You're ready for those screens.
Also keep an eye on their running back, Zach Bertke. He's about 5'11", $175, somewhere in that vicinity. 120 carries to this point this year, 581 yards. Now, he was hurt in the game last week, but I mean, unless he's in a cast, a walking boot, or in the hospital, he's going to wind up playing this game.
Yeah, and everyone at this level, when you get to a state championship, they have some form of balance on offense, because you can't get to this point with being one-dimensional. So, JFK stopped the run. I think you make them one-dimensional and you'll be fine. I think if JFK is able to bottle up the run game and make New Bremen one-dimensional, then that's a feather in their cap, and they'll have an advantage.
This is just going to be a fun game.
The linebacking core of JFK is brilliant in the postseason so far, and I think that's why I'm pretty confident that they'll be able to bottle up the run.
Yeah, this is going to be a great game. Make no mistake about that. By the way, it's not just Berkey that can run the ball. Their quarterback is also
but a lot of his run yards, remember, come off schedule plays.
Sure.
Like, they don't do a lot of design quarterback draws with him.
Yeah.
So if the edges of JFK can keep contained, you knock a lot of those running yards off of his stat line.
893 yards rushing, 14 touchdowns for this very talented quarterback from New Bremen, Mitchell Hayes. And Mitchell Hayes is a senior. He is 5'11", about 170 pounds.
And you got to think JFK is going to have someone be spying him. And the question is, who are you going to put as the spy?
Well, I mean,
it'll be interesting to see. I think it'll change. I don't think they'll keep the same spy the whole game. Their linebackers are good. So
one would assume it's the middle linebacker, because if you try to run the far side of the field, obviously one of the outside linebackers, if hopefully you're keeping your containment along with the defensive end, you keep your containment. But historically, if you're going to spy on someone, you can't do one side. You can't do a left outside linebacker, because what happens if they're going the other side of the field? Obviously, then he is way out of position. So historically, the middle linebacker is normally the spy in all of the running plays.
I've seen some colleges and some pro teams actually. They have a really good pass rusher, but every now and then they'll drop the pass rusher back, and he'll turn into a spy. That's really creative, and maybe JFK pulls one of those out where it's something that it doesn't show on the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden there's a spy back there that the quarterback can't read. Anything you can do to confuse a quarterback would be a plus.
It's going to be a fun game. Make no mistake about it. And again, if you're just joining us, news broke before we went on the air. The state championship games were originally set to be played at Fortress Obetz, located southeast of Columbus in Franklin County. Sadly, Franklin County has a travel advisory where COVID is far more prevalent down there than it is in northeastern Ohio. And because of the travel advisory and the fact that it would have been very hard to put people in the stands, the OHSAA made the decision late this morning to move all of the games from Fortress Obetz to Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. So all of the games starting Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock with Warren JFK playing New Bremen. Friday night at 6 o'clock, Massillon playing Akron-Hoban. Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock, Kirtland and Ironton. Saturday night at 6 o'clock, Columbus, DeSales, and Chardon. Sunday afternoon at 12 noon, Van Wert and Mentor Lake Catholic. Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock, Springfield and Coldwater. All of those games will be played at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. There is no travel warning or travel ban or any kind of travel advisory in Stark County, where Massillon is. And we are more than welcome to put 1,500 fans at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. So, and I think that the OHSAA made the right decision because, first of all, the travel advisory was going to screw a lot of things up, and secondly, and we brought this up, and I'm dead serious when I say this. If you were to sit back and tell the fans, the parents of these young men that are playing in a state title game, oh, by the way, we're not allowing fans into the Fortress Obetz, you would be the lead story.
They'd show up
everywhere.
They'd show up, and you'd be like, "Stop us from getting in."
Yeah,
I mean,
and as a result, we'd be the lead story on every nightly news because I guarantee you there would have been incidents.
Like, let's be real. This is where it should have been all the time. And I think the universe kind of came and put its hand into the OHSAA and said, "You're going to Massillon," because if you really think about it, this just makes abundantly more sense than putting it in Fortress Obetz, where it's dirt cheap and made from storage containers, and just it makes abundantly more sense to play the state championship games at a facility like Massillon Jackson than it does some Fortress Obetz.
Somewhere in the world, I can see James Earl Jones going, "We are going to play the game in Stark County over in Massillon. Do you have a problem with that? I don't think so." Let's go to the phone lines. Tony, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. What's going on, brother?
Oh, nothing. Hey, I just got a text about a half hour ago. Did you know that they moved the Massillon, or the game to Massillon?
Yeah,
yes,
all of them. Yep.
All the games are going to be played in Massillon. The reason why, Tony, unfortunately, in Franklin County, there is a travel advisory. And
okay.
Yeah, and there
I
was
didn't know if you had heard that. Somebody texted me from there, and
there was a significant issue, not only with the travel advisory, there was also the potential of not having any fans at all.
Well, yeah, that
in the state title
and
game.
Of course, the statewide curfew, which that's why they moved the kickoff times.
Yeah, the curfew.
Oh, the other thing, and I questioned it, and I think I may have sent you something. The stupidity of putting it in a 6,500 seat facility when you're only allowing 15% in. Don't you at least put it in a 10,000 seat facility?
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing that's obviously it makes a lot more sense now to put it in a stadium.
So they moved every game to Massillon.
Yeah, they've moved every game to Massillon, not just one. They've moved all of them to Massillon, mainly because of the travel advisory. Apparently, in Franklin County is a very hard-hit county with COVID.
And I can say that per Dana Balish, Hoban has agreed to play that game in Massillon. Hoban will still be the designated home team. So that game will officially be in Massillon. Hoban has agreed to that. So
now there's an interesting little thing. Massillon.
Well, that was my grievance, right?
Yeah. Well, and here's the beautiful part of this. You're going to play the game in Massillon. Massillon would normally have the home facilities, the home locker room. They don't have the home locker room. They're going to be the visiting team.
Right.
So I think this is pretty cool.
They may be designated home, but they're not going to yank. I would seriously doubt they're going to make those kids clear their lockers. Oh, they have to, though.
Yeah.
They have to if they're using it for everybody, I guess,
exactly.
Right? So,
well, they're going to be clearing the lockers. They'll use the away lockers. That's weird. But 2020's been a weird year to begin with, so it's all good.
Yeah, it just seems to always work out. Except for the actual championship, it always seems to work out Massill's way.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this. There's 3 games in this in the 6 games that are being scheduled. There's 3 games in which 3 teams have revenge on their mind. Springfield lost last year to Anna. Now they don't get an opportunity to beat Anna for the title, but they get an opportunity to win a title and make up for last year's loss to Anna. Ironton gets an opportunity not only to win a championship, but to beat the team that denied them a championship last year, as they'll take on Kirtland in a rematch, and a revenge factor that's about 50 years in the making with Massillon because they've never won a state championship on the field, so they get yet another opportunity to win a state title on the field in front of their home people, even though they're the visiting team.
Yeah, well, there's one additional one also. Now, I never complained about it because it's not my nature to complain. Injuries are part of the game. But did you see the kid from Hoban last year who blew the place up his first game at ASU?
Yeah, the kid that went off against USC. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was at Hoban last year. I never brought it up. The kid was dealing with a high ankle sprain, was hardly able to play, though. He missed like 5 games last year, and the last game of the season, he was really struggling. Plus, they lost the tight end who was going to Alabama through an ACL. They were down 2 Power 5 D1 players when they played Massillon last year and lost in 17-14 in the regional championship game last year. So can I throw that one in for revenge?
Oh, yeah, there you go. And the beautiful thing is you get to, if you're Hoban, you get to beat Massillon in their own stadium, which is a cherry on top of everything. As the home team. That's the ultimate in revenge right there.
Hey, you want to know who I've decided is the hard luck team of the year this year in the area here? And I don't know if I've mentioned this to you, Ron, but I think it's Ursuline by far. Before that Ursuline game, and I don't know if we talked about it, but I thought Ursuline would dominate that team that they played. And to lose the kids they lost going into that game had to be devastating. I think they are significantly better than Mentor Lake Catholic.
Well, and Mentor Lake Catholic is now in the D4 state championship game, and you wonder.
Let me tell you another thing that Mentor Lake Catholic, they beat Northwest, a team I talked about earlier in the year. But after the season, I found out that because he struggled for the last 2 games in the playoffs, Jordan Midkid, who used to quarterback at Hoban, a great talent, like I said, a lot like the Springfield kid, just a great athlete in all sports and a really great baseball player. But he tore it's going to be surgically repaired. He tore a tendon in his hand.
Wow.
In the Girard game. I mean, he was struggling. He was missing passes that he never missed. And Mentor Lake Catholic only beat them by a touchdown, 7-0. And when I saw Ursuline, I felt Ursuline and Poland both were significantly better than Northwest, even with Northwest being healthy, only because Northwest doesn't have the depth. So I think Ursuline just that was a really bad deal for them.
Yeah, and you just, unfortunately, it's one of those things where, and I think Anthony brought it up, 2020 is not fair. This whole thing has not been fair in a lot of ways, but in other ways, I know a lot of folks want to put an asterisk next to this year because you're not playing 15 games. I would argue that for the teams that win a state championship this year, they will have gone through far more stuff this year than any other year. So I agree with you, but I think that the established programs, the programs that like Springfield maybe, who have an established program, have their kids back, know the system. They're not developing sophomores becoming starters as juniors and such. So yeah. I think they're in a nice position. Though they have an uphill battle, I think they're in a nice position. No,
Did you get my
agree.
text that Mac plays a 9-game league schedule? Some of the teams play an 8-game league schedule. So to go out there and play them, it's going to be kind of tough.
Yeah, you'd have to pretty much hope and pray that their one game is an open week for those that play 9 games. But
well, they all open week 1, and then the rest of the schedule. The 8-game people play open week 1 and open week 2, but the 10-game teams, 9-game teams, they're open week 1 only.
yeah,
So
and it's tough, but hopefully one of those teams would be able to have a home and home deal with one of our Valley teams. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
do you think if Massillon doesn't win tomorrow that they'll ask for a recount?
Well, listen. Hey, listen. At the end of the day, the Bills are 8-2 because everyone knows. Well, hold on a second. Rigged. The whole thing was rigged. Everyone knows Kyler Murray. He threw the ball back of the end zone. Illegal. Brother, always a pleasure.
You know that I didn't bring up that play, and my son and I were talking about. I'll take that exact situation every time I bet my house on it.
Listen, as far as I'm concerned, mad respect to Kyler Murray for throwing the ball. He's rolling out and then turning not in a favorable way to where he's throwing the ball in the air over 50 yards and perfectly placed. And Hopkins was able to outjump 3 different guys to make the play. No, that's an incredible throw, an even better catch. I got no problems with what Arizona did Sunday.
I've always had Hopkins in the top 2 or 3 guys. I like Michael Thomas for what he does.
Sure.
But Hopkins does the most bizarre stuff.
He's brilliant. There's no two ways about it. That was just an unfortunate ending, but as far as I'm concerned, I got no problems with it. It was a great throw, an even better catch, and I'm good with it.
Go home and get healthy, right?
That's it. Go home, get healthy. You're off this week, and hopefully they get healthy.
Okay, guys. Have a good night.
See ya. All right, 330-886-0813. This could be a lot of fun.
Breaking news, and,
Okay.
and I have to say it because I had to just wait till Tony, but it's unfortunately it broke right after we were done with Rob Schmidt. But the YSU women have now paused basketball activities due to positive COVID-19 tests within the program. So that's per Dana Balish, and so obviously that means that the game on Wednesday is probably postponed. And
well, yeah,
for the near future. YSU women have also paused basketball activity.
Well, when the Penguins, when the men paused,
which you kind of felt it because they used the same facility.
Yeah.
So it would have been really hard for the women to go through that unscathed. It would have been really so.
Okay, the men pause there is on the 16th, and it's a 2-week quarantine. Today, news just breaking of the YSU women's program being shut down as of today. Fast forward 2 weeks. Now we're looking at December 3rd.
Which is right around the time when Horizon League starts 2 weeks after that. Right?
Yeah, so all games, all practices, all everything with the YSU women's program is now shut down until December the 3rd. Man, that's tough. That's tough. It's your non-conference games are starting to disintegrate, and it's just. Then you just wonder, do you just get rid of the non-conference
Well, then
games?
it hurts the teams that were scheduled to play YSU non-conference because now they don't have non-conference games either.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
At what point does the NCAA
never
just sit back and say, listen,
they're going to play. They're going to do what they did with football. You play, and if you can't play, then we'll go on without you. But the teams that can play. Because that's what they did in football, and that's what they'll probably do in basketball.
Well, and I saw this morning that Maryland is losing another Big Ten game. That game against Michigan State has been
as
postponed.
far as the NCAA is concerned, it's sorry about your luck because we played in September, and you guys wanted to wait. So sorry about your luck. Fair doesn't exist in 2020.
Basketball's a little different because you don't have. You're already in conference play with football. So but this one's a little bit different. I would hope the NCAA would sit back and go, okay, look, we're canceling the non-conference games,
They better
and we're
do
just
it
going to
quick
do a
because
conference
basketball for their NCAA teams, they start next week.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're going to do that, you better do it really soon, because there's games on your schedule next week.
Yeah, I just that's tough. Breaking news again: the YSU women's basketball program has had to stop for the next couple of weeks. COVID outbreak with an unidentified player or coach, and the soonest that they can get back to practice now, you got to go 2 weeks from today, which is December the 3rd, where the outbreak for the men occurred 3 days earlier. 2 weeks from the November 16th is November 30th, which will be the next time the YSU men can practice. And we hope that the YSU men will still be able to play their game against West Virginia on Wednesday, December the 2nd. But the YSU women will not be allowed to practice. There is nothing going on with the YSU women's program until December 3rd, 14 days after what has just been announced now, per Dana Balish, TV 21 sports director. The YSU women's department has now had to shut down as someone within the basketball program has tested positive for COVID. So it just, God, this 2020 has absolutely sucked this year. It really has. All right, we're going to take a timeout. On the other side, we've talked a little bit about the JFK game with New Bremen. We're going to talk a little bit about Sunday's game.
We can break down some Coldwater film, and I wish I could clear the screen and do the ESPN film breakdown. That would be fun.
Yeah, you're going to do your John Madden thing. We got a guy here and a guy
here. They run a tangent, and then boom, touchdown. Brett Favre.
We'll take a timeout and be back with more of a Thursday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions, reminding you that it is open enrollment for Medicare.
Now through December 7th, those who qualify can visit our local independent agency by calling us at 330-953-3722 or visiting us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention all football fans. If you can't see your team play, come and dine with us and watch it live at Boardman, Canfield, or Cortland. Or staying at home, we'll deliver right to your door. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
2020 will be a season like we've never seen before, but 21 Sports and YSN will be there for every key moment. The plays, the players, and the stories that will headline this season. Delivered by 21 Sports and YSN.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plan still meets your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
You may find yourself in some difficulty this winter. Don't get whacked by high heating bills. Call Michael at MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Michael is a trusted friend who will be able to help you with many things, like getting a 95% high-efficiency furnace this winter from Rude. Michael relies on Rude, so should you. Call MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate, 330-259-0486, and take care of your heating and air situation.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Youngstown. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, open for business. Here's something you don't hear very often. Sunday afternoon football not involving the National Football League. Sunday at 5 o'clock, the Springfield Tigers will be taking on Coldwater, the Coldwater Cavaliers from the Midwest Athletic Conference. This will be the final game of the 6 games to be played at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. Again, if you're just joining us, the breaking news before we went on the air, all of the state championship games this weekend have been thrown out of Fortress Obetz in southeastern part of Columbus. The county in which Columbus is in, Franklin County, that county has a travel advisory. And also, it would have been very, very difficult to allow people to go in to watch the state championship games. And because of that, the OHSAA made the wise decision to move all of these games out of the southeastern part of Columbus and to put these games into Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. We made comments. There are 12 teams that are going to be playing in a state championship game this year, and all but 2 of them are located either in the northeastern or northwestern part of the state. The only 2 schools that are going to be traveling a lot further, Columbus DeSales, who will some way, somehow, some way, get out of Columbus and travel up to Massillon for the Saturday afternoon or a Saturday evening affair with Chardon, Saturday night at 6 o'clock. And Ironton, who's going to have to travel a couple of hours further north. Ironton is a community that is located on the Ohio-Kentucky border in the extreme southern end of our Buckeye State. They're now going to have to take a 2-hour further trip up to Massillon. Not like they care. I mean, they did it last year. When they went to Canton. Ironton played Kirtland and Canton, and they had to make the trip to Canton. It's not like they're going to be bent out of shape traveling another couple of extra hours from Columbus to Massillon. But those are the only 2 schools that are going to face significant further travel in their route to Massillon. The other schools are either located in northeastern Ohio, where it's going to be an easier travel, or northwestern Ohio, where you might tack on 5 or 10 minutes, not much more than that. But this should be a fun weekend, and again, all of the games are going to be played at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. Now you can put 1,500 people into this stadium, and more importantly, no disrespect to Fortress Obetz, but they only had one side of the stadium. Now there's a better than average chance that if you're sitting near someone, they're going to be similar rooting interests because there's 2 sides.
And it was a nice looking facility, but it wasn't like glamorous Paul Brown Stadium just looks a lot better. I mean, it makes
football.
sense to have a state championship at this beautiful football stadium rather than this. I want to put this as nicely as possible. It was a facility. It wasn't a.
It doesn't have history either.
I mean, it was just kind of there.
Yeah.
Dana said it earlier. It was kind of dirt cheap. They took it because it was in Columbus. It was cheap, and that's one of the reasons why they did it. So I think everyone wins because I think it should have been at Massillon to begin with. I think it's the perfect place to have it if you're not going to have it at the Hall of Fame. And maybe the universe has its own way of mixing in there.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, Fortress Obetz doesn't have any history in that stadium. There's no football history there. I mean, you go to Massillon, there is some serious football history in Massillon. It'd be like
playing the softball state championships at Berliner Park in Columbus because it's a nice travel facility. They have a bunch of fields. You could probably play the entire Ohio OHSAA tournament at that park because they have enough fields for it. But it's not Akron Firestone Stadium.
No.
It's not the history. It's not the professional stadium. So, yeah, it'd be kind of the same thing. And I'm really happy that it got moved to Massillon because it's a better venue. It'll look better. It'll be a better experience. And I think it makes sense.
Yeah, and if you compare the two stadiums, the ghosts of football past in Massillon,
plus, I mean,
you got all kinds of football ghosts of the past. You go to Fortress Obetz and you've got Casper eating popcorn, kettle corn, caramel corn, and all the other good stuff. I just threw a commercial out there. I'm not sure which commercial it was, but I always get a
We
kick out of that.
We won't give the free advertisement. It was a commercial.
But I get a kick out of Casper coming in with I got some popcorn, kettle corn, caramel corn. Yeah, that's the only ghost that's going to be coming out of Fortress Obets because there's no football history there. That's now the only other place that would be even better than Paul Brown Tiger Stadium would be Tom Benson Stadium next to the Hall of Fame. But as we have said this on a number of occasions, Sunday is the single most popular day for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and there's no way they would want to cancel that venue where they get buku megabucks. I mean, it costs now an arm, a leg, and your firstborn to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Not that it's not worth it, it is. But Sunday's their day. That's their most popular day. So under the circumstances, with the games at Massillon, this is a good venue. This is a great venue for these games. All right, the last of the 6 games that will be played Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Springfield will be taking on Coldwater. We made mention, Sean Guerrero made mention of this. Coldwater runs a similar offense, but they do so many other different things from their formation.
They run a lot of I don't know what do you call it? It's a different formation, but the scheme's the same.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's gonna look different. You're gonna have to see where they're in, but the things they're running out of these different formations are pretty much the same. I mean, when they do the run pass option, they pull a guard, and they run to the counter or to the outside. I mean, it's when you break down the film, despite all the curtain dressing, that's the word I was looking for. Despite all the curtain dressing, it's pretty much the scheme is kind of simple, to be honest. You just have to get past all the stuff they try to throw in there to make your eyes drift. If you play assignment football, which Springfield proved they could do pretty well last week, that's why I think playing the wing tee before Coldwater is going to be a huge advantage, because this defense is going to be well equipped to play assignment football and play disciplined defense. So I don't think they're going to fall for any of the curtain dressing that Coldwater kind of puts out there. So it'll be interesting to see how the Tigers handle it.
Well, Coldwater has an amazing quarterback, 6'2", 190-pound senior in Miles Blazengame, and he's very similar to Brungard.
He's very established in Coldwater. I think his brothers have been substantially successful at Coldwater as quarterbacks as well. So
his older brother won a championship in 2015.
I think his older brother was part of that team that went to all 4, right? I mean, they went to all 4. I don't think they won all 4.
Yeah.
But, like an established family name, kind of like Brungard. I mean, established name in this area. So it's almost scary how similar those two storylines are. He's a pocket passer. He can run. They do a run-pass option with him. But he's not like the New Brennan quarterback where he likes to go out of off schedule. He's more, in-system quarterback. And he'll pick you apart if you give him time.
Yeah, 106 completions and 173 passing attempts. That's about 61%. He's thrown for over 1,400 yards. He's rushed for close to 1,000 yards. He's found the end zone running the ball 17 times. They got a really nice running back in Zach McKibben. He's about 5'9". He has a little over 700 yards
film,
as well.
And you see a lot of this with kids in this kind of area because Pittsburgh is such a big team. He kind of runs like Le'Veon Bell did in his prime, where he kind of bounces at the line and looks for a lane and then takes it. He's a very patient running back. He'll sit at the line. He'll wait for his blockers to make a lane, and then he'll hit it. So you got to get to him early. I think you got to make sure you stay away from those high tackles. Try to get his legs like you would a Derrick Henry kind of thing, and that's how you stop him. Slow down the run with every team. Slow down the run, make them one-dimensional. And I think Springfield will be okay.
One of the other things that Coldwater does exceptionally well, they spread around the wealth when it comes to passing the ball. They got 4 different guys that are the chief threats, and they're all talented in what they do.
When you have a good quarterback, you're going to have a guy that can spread it around a lot because he doesn't fall in love with one guy. I mean, no, not all 4 of their receivers are deep threats. Some of them they use for the crossing routes. Some of them are more of the jet sweeps, screen guys that they'll use for their speed, and then some of them are the deep threats that they'll run on little go routes, or they'll run on a deep out pattern or a deep post. But for the most part, I think in their passing game, they don't take a lot of shots. They'll take them, but they really like to work those intermediate passing games. So, maybe Springfield, can kind of play a little bit tighter in the secondary and try to take away some of those short yardage gains and make Coldwater throw downfield more than they're comfortable doing.
The secondary is going to be tested. That
yes.
Springfield secondary is going to be tested in a big way.
The Coldwater secondary is very good, but it's also very aggressive. I watched their St. John's game. That was the one I was able to see. And even though they won by a lot, I think they won by like 44.
They won 57-13.
Yeah, the first drive, they gave up a touchdown because it was a little out route. The corner jumped it, missed the interception, and he was gone. So they're very aggressive. They'll take their chances. So I think if Springfield can use some of those misdirections, their fake jet sweeps to get those aggressive secondary players to look in the backfield or maybe miss their eye discipline, they can really take advantage of a very good but very aggressive secondary.
Yeah, and that's only gonna be one time. If you do that once, they'll snap back into what they're supposed to do. But in a game that's supposed to be this tight, doing it once, it might be the difference between a win and a loss.
Well, their corners are kind of like Marcus Peters. He's a great guy that takes a lot of chances. You can really take advantage of him if you use that aggressiveness against him, double moves, things that kind of take that instinct away and make him think a little bit. So I think their corners both extremely talented but also extremely aggressive, so Springfield will have to develop a couple of ways to take advantage of the aggressiveness of their cornerbacks.
Running the patterns to the precise ability is going to be so important. And the moves where you're trying to plant your foot to go one way and then bounce it to go the other way. You can't round your ins and out patterns against this team. You're going to have to run a precise, perfect pattern to give that secondary the bait that you're looking for.
And look, because their corners are so good, they're going to play one high safety. That's going to give you a lot of room, down the field and in the middle. So you make that safety bite on the in route, and all of a sudden a post is wide open. If you can win that one-on-one battle, not a lot of teams have been able to do it. But if you can beat that corner one-on-one and then safety comes in off trying to break on an in cut, all of a sudden you got a wide open post route for a touchdown.
This is where I think this is going to be a high scoring game for that reason, because Brungard and Blasingame both have that ability where they're advanced to the point of they're going to take a glance over at this wide receiver, have the safety knowing that he's reading the eyes of the quarterback. He's going to commit over here and then.
I want to see what trick plays that Sean Guerrero has.
Oh, he's going to have some. You know he has some.
Because it's like, what else can you pull out at this point? I mean, he did the double reverse flea flicker. It'll be fun to see what kind of things he pulls out of his sleeves. I know he's got something cooking, and he'll probably do it early. He'll probably try to take advantage of that aggressive secondary and do something pretty early to punch Coldwater in the mouth.
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a trick play on the first drive. Maybe if it's like a 4th and 3 in midfield.
I mean, I kind of like that, but then sometimes when you do that, you're kind of sounding the horn of desperation by doing it too early. I just hold off on that. Hold off on that trickery for a little while, because if you do it in the first drive, you get a sense of desperation. You do it. I'd hold off till later when you really need it, but. I can also see, and Coach Cusick is pretty much a genius at this. Every once in a while he'll do it, and he did it against South Range.
Fake punt.
You score a touchdown, and then automatically you're going onside kick the next time around. It worked against South Range. The fake punt worked against South Range, which should have never worked against South Range, because everyone and their brother should have known that this was going to be a fake punt. They were down by 20. You're not gonna lose the game like that.
Right.
But they did the fake punt against Garfield, and it didn't work, and they were way deep in their own end. And I was like, this could come back to really haunt them. But I could see where one of these coaches pulls out we just scored, let's keep the momentum going and roll the dice and do an onside kick after scoring to see if they can get possession again and come up with another touchdown.
Can we see a Sean Payton onside kick out of halftime if you need the momentum?
Well, let me ask you this before we even get to that. I'm going to let you put your coaching hat on. In a game like we'll do both games, but since we're talking Springfield and Coldwater first, both teams love to score points. What are you doing if you win the toss?
Well, if I'm Springfield, I'm trusting my defense, and I'm saying we're going to defer to the second half because their defense has played really well. There's no reason to say that the Coldwater's, it's not like you're an underdog. I mean, you don't need to set a message. You don't need to set a tone. You got a really good defense, and then if you can defer and then get the last possession before halftime, that's a huge advantage. So if I was Springfield, I would definitely defer to the second half.
See, I want the ball.
JFK, it's a little bit more of a toss-up because I think that's going to be a much more low-scoring game.
Yeah.
And you might want to score early to set the tone. So JFK, I might think about taking the ball first, but for Springfield, I would definitely defer if I won the toss. Now, they haven't won the toss their last 2 playoff games.
Oh, I know.
So they want to win the toss.
Yeah.
But if I did, I would defer.
Honestly, I want the ball. Give me the ball because I'm going to score. I want my offense. I want my offense on the field so I can score first and set precedent.
You don't want to pull a Matt Hasselback. We'll take the ball. We're going to score, and then he threw a pick six.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. I mean, that's just absurd. When he said that, I was like, "What the hell's wrong with you doing something like that?" If I'm Springfield or JFK, I want the ball. I want the ball first.
Karma came back on him real quick.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt about that.
If I'm JFK, I might think about taking the ball first. If I'm Springfield, me personally, I'm deferring if I'm Springfield.
Well, and the other part of this, and you bring up a really good point. I like to call it the daily double of football, where you have the ball last possession. You also get the ball to start the second half, and you have an opportunity to put points in those 2 possessions.
The fact that Springfield has such a good range kicker makes me that advantage is a little bit even more enticing because you don't have to score a touchdown before halftime to get points on the board before you get into the break. If you get to the 25-yard line, that's in Medvac's range. He can go kick you a field goal before halftime, no problem.
There's no 2 ways about that. Now, Coldwater does have a field goal kicker. I just don't know if he has Medvac's range because, again, for Medvac, we were talking about the 15-yard line. Wait a second.
I just meant that's where you're comfortable. He can hit him. Yeah. I didn't mean that as like a sign of disrespect. Like he can't hit it behind the 15. Obviously, he proves he can. It's just there's this threshold where it's like, okay, we're in field goal range, but then there's another threshold where you're like, I am 100% going for a field goal if I'm here. And I think for Springfield, that's like 20 to 15-yard line, like every time. Field goal. You're not taking risks because Medvac can almost hit those in his sleep.
You go to the 23-yard line, and now you're looking at a 40-yard field goal. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Medvac hits that. I mean, that's certainly within his range. Mm-hmm. You're obviously a lot more comfortable if you're on the 15-yard line. That makes the decision
a little bit harder if it's 4th and 2 or 4th and 1. Do I kick a field goal or do I trust my offense to get a yard? If I'm on the 25 or 26. But if I'm at the 15 and it's 4th and 1 and it's like a big moment in the game, I'm bringing Medvac out to kick a field goal. It's not even a shot.
Here's the thing that is going to be key in a lot of ways, and it sounds so easy, but it's. I've seen coaches not do this. Don't chase after points, and what I mean by that is, if you're down by 15. And you want, and you're 6 minutes left in the game. You're down by 15. Your team just scored a touchdown to cut it to within 9. Don't chase points. Don't go for a 2-point conversion there. You got to kick the extra point because you got to score another touchdown. You wait for that.
I'd go for 2. Obviously, if I'm down 16, you have to go for 2 because you're down 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions.
Yeah, but from 15
you make the first touchdown and you just go for 1, and then you deal with the 2-point conversion the second time.
Yeah, don't chase after points unless you have to. Right. But the other thing is, don't outthink yourself either, because a little interesting tidbit. I mean, if you got a kid that can kick automatically within 40 yards, take it. Take those opportunities. Just take those opportunities. Get them on the field and get the 3 points because you're going to need all the points you can get. These 2 games, you're going to need all the points you can get in order to beat New Bremen and Coldwater. Because again, these 2 teams, they are battle tested. They're battle tested because they play in an insanely good league.
In the same line of thought, though, you don't want to settle for field goals too many times when you get down to the red zone. I mean, that's
true.
That's a form of disaster. I mean, at some point, let's say you've kicked 2 field goals in the red zone already. You have 6 points, and it's like 10-6. At some point, you have to say we have to come away from the red zone with a touchdown. You might start to say we might want to go for it 4th and 1 at the 15 or 16 yard line because at some point we need a touchdown.
Yeah, and it determines how much time is left, how many possessions are left. Because you're going to be limited in possessions, especially if the offense is going 7-8 minutes at a time. I think you're going to be limited in possessions.
That's one of the stats I like to look at. I think the Coldwater Springfield game, there are going to be a lot of offensive possessions. I think within JFK has proven it. They've played a lot of really quick games where there's not a lot of offensive possessions. I think we'll see the possession numbers really drop in that JFK game. Springfield, I wouldn't be surprised if each team gets 8 to 10. Somewhere in that range. JFK, you might only get 6. So,
see, both Springfield and Coldwater can both hang on to the ball and have long drives.
They can.
But I'm kind of wondering if we're going to see that on Sunday. I'm kind of wondering if one of these teams is going to go on a 15-play, 80-yard drive and take 7 or 8 minutes off the clock. I got a bad feeling that this is a high-scoring game where you don't have that. The bad feeling, that's kind of a bad way of putting it. I got a feeling that neither team is going to have the ball for more than 4 minutes because the points are just going to be like that. This is going to be a track meet, is what I'm saying.
Both teams' defenses want to force that because the more plays you make the other team go, the more chances are they make a mistake. It's harder to put together 15-play drives. So, I mean, both defenses are going to be keying in on stopping the big play and making teams trickle the ball down the field or keep matriculating the ball down the field. So,
Oh, you pulled out your Hank Stram.
I had to pull out my Hank Stram.
Okay,
but that's the point.
Do the 45 pass power
65 toss power trap.
Yeah, 65 toss power trap, boys. Yeah. It's going to work.
I told you. But anyway, both defenses, especially Springfield's, they're going to be keying in on stopping the big play and making Coldwater have a sustained drive that's 10 or more plays. And if they can get off the field, that's great. If they can't, Coldwater can really hold on to the ball.
All right, let's get back to the phone lines. You're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on?
Once again, guys, great show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I am so impressed, and we are so lucky. We're blessed to have not only coaches that we have in this area, the great men and women. And I think our kids athletically are in good hands. Same thing as academically, too. And it's just so great to hear them talk. And, they talk about football, but they talk about life. They talk about soccer, but they talk about life. They talk about basketball, but they talk about life because nobody plays forever. So for that, I want to give you guys, your station kudos for letting us have the privilege to listen and pick these guys' brains. Now, and far as the high school championship goes, a couple of things. I don't think nobody's more upset than Akron Hoban. I mean, come on, and Massillon was the last team to beat Hoban, and they're playing on Massillon's field, and Massillon's in their own locker room.
Well,
according to Dana, they asked and Hoban agreed. So I mean, they can't be that mad about it because they agreed.
Oh, wait a minute, Anthony. Let me tell you something. Hoban the same way as us. Anybody, anytime, anywhere.
Right.
Coach told you he'll play you in the phone booth.
Exactly.
But that don't mean we're happy about it. Now go ahead.
But here's where you should switch this around. If I'm Hoban, this is what I'm going to say. I get to spoil your party and ruin your dreams yet another season. And the beautiful thing is, not only do I get to do that on your home field, I get to celebrate screwing you out of a title in your own locker room when we beat you. Because Hoban's the home team. I mean, that is as juicy as it gets.
Well, maybe for some folks that we've beaten Massillon before and we'll beat them again. They crushed us the last 3 times, but so what? We beat them and we'll beat them again. But all I'm saying is about the other things. You guys are talking about the type of games and the type of scores. I think everybody's missing the point. There are 6 very good offenses going to be playing this weekend. Very good. Now you look at Kennedy, right? And you look at Coldwater, and you look at Springfield. They don't need a drive to score on you. They all have big plays.
Yeah.
And, so I can have the ball for 7 minutes, and you could have it for 20, and I could be up doggone 21-0.
No,
and
you're right.
I expect to see a whole bunch of offenses, because guess what? There are no more games. They're not going to leave anything on the table. They're going to open that playbook up and get a microscope, and we're going to see some. I got to say it, Ron. We're going to see some wing dang doodles. I'm telling you.
What was that line
Say
again?
that again.
Wing dang doodles.
Wing dang doodles.
Wing dang doodles.
That's what we're going to see.
All right. I'm going to use that if you don't mind.
You can have it, man.
We're going to put that on a shirt.
Yeah, wing dang doodles.
Yeah. Hey, but one more last thing. I want you guys to have a great weekend. I know you're not on tomorrow, but I appreciate, all the things that you guys are doing. I know it's kind of hard to stretch out a little bit, but we love you up here in Trumbull County, man, and we appreciate everything you do for us, and we're going to try to send some money over.
I appreciate it.
And
you guys have a good weekend.
We love Trumbull County, too. Make sure to tune into this weekend, all right?
Okay.
See
have
you,
a good weekend, man.
Man. 330-886-0813. Wing dang
wing
doodles.
Dang doodles.
Yeah, wing dang doodles.
Get your wing dang doodles.
Yeah.
Whatever those are. I want some.
I don't know, but that sounds pretty good.
Sounded like it was a good thing.
Yeah, and he's talking about how the playbook might be emptied. You're talking about Sean Guerrero possibly pulling some more stuff out of his hat. It leads me to say what Bullwinkle has always said. Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. 330-886-0813. We're back in a bit. Stick around.
Now something we think you'll really like.
Your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig. Okay, we haven't even really mentioned this because of the fact that we've been talking YSU men's and women's sports.
News, yeah.
The fact that the OHSAA playoffs have been moved from the Fortress Obets to Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. Last night, the NBA draft took place, and the Cavaliers, they did something that I was pretty stoked about. They got someone that can actually play defense. So
it's okay. The NBA will fix that because no one plays defense in the NBA. So.
Well, yeah, but well, this kid Isaac Okoro, he's not too shabby. I like this. I really like this selection. Obi Toppin would have been interesting to have the University of Dayton kid in a Cavs uniform, but I like this kid. Can you believe
the 4th overall pick didn't even start at USC last year?
Yeah, Florida State. Yeah,
Florida State.
Yeah, Patrick Williams. He's the first guy ever to be selected in the first round of the NBA draft without being a starter.
He averaged like 9 points a game.
Yeah.
Like maybe like 20 minutes a game.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah, he's picked number 4. Where are you going to put him? Well, we're going to take him off the bench. I mean, he's never started in a game. Why should we have him start now? Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Out of left field.
Yeah, that was definitely a different thing there for sure. Speaking of out of left field, no winter meetings this year. They're all going to be much like everything else in 2020. It's all going to be virtual Zoom meetings and whatnot. And it's just this whole year has been just really, really weird. But we're grateful that this year and I can't believe we were able to do it. And obviously it's not official yet until all of our games are played, but it's certainly looking like we're going to finally get our state championship games in, and the fall season will officially come to a close.
As of now, winter season starting. I mean, we got games on Saturday, so we'll stay tuned to see. I mean, we have YSN teams playing on Saturday.
And the news out of Columbus, from what I was told, is they are not going to put down a cancellation at the present time. They're leaving all of the decisions to be chosen by school by school.
Why? So they have no responsibility.
Yeah. So they don't want to make the decision. They want to make the decision based on the schools.
Kind of goes back to when we were talking in the beginning of summer when the OHSA just didn't want to make the decision, and we're kind of right back to where we started.
Well,
making a decision.
Yeah, but I also think that I also think the OHSAA really is looking at Governor DeWine to lead the whole thing.
Because I mean, no matter what, the OHSAA could come out and say we're going to play, we're going to be fine, and then DeWine could come out and say no, you're not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so he's the one that has to kind of lead the pack.
Yeah.
So, in that regard, I guess the OHSAA has their hands tied. So, at least they're not canceling things before the governor says anything. That would be really...
Yeah, and I just think that the fact that they're trying to go by what Governor DeWine is saying, okay, well then we're just going to sit back and make the generic announcement, which I think is the right thing to do at the end of the day. If you're not completely responsible for this and you're turning the responsibility to the governor, because the governor is essentially running everything with a pandemic going on, okay, so they're going to make the announcement, hey, look, if you guys think it's okay for you to start your season, have at it, do your thing. We're not going to tell you otherwise. Okay, it's good. It's a good decision. And as long as the school doesn't have a COVID attack, then we can expect our YSN schools to be playing basketball and wrestling. And wrestling is going to be entertaining in and of its own self. Because how the heck can you?
Well, if they're cleared, then it should be fine. I mean, if both schools have done their COVID protocols and they've both been temperature checked and everything, if everything's, you have to have everything cleared before the meet. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You have to be very, very vigilant of that everyone is cleared before the meet, because if someone with COVID wrestles, there's no chance you're not catching it because of how close quarters wrestling is.
Yeah.
So
now here's the other thing, and we have both coached basketball. Mm-hmm. We have both tried to teach kids at an early age what is expected when you're on the basketball floor. I am going to be really curious when basketball season starts, and maybe this is something we talk about on Monday when we get back, because tomorrow we don't have a show. We wish Kennedy the best of luck in their state championship game tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock against New Bremen. But I'm going to be real curious if basketball is going to be called from an official standpoint much tighter with the COVID outbreak. Are they going to allow hand checks?
I guess you have to go back and see if they called football tighter. I mean, how they called pass interference and grabbing and holding and things like that in a football aspect, and that would probably give you your answer, because if in a grand scheme of things, I mean, every referee's going to be different. But if overall the officials kind of trended towards a little bit tighter when it comes to holding penalties and pass interference, stuff about contact, then maybe you'll see the same thing in basketball.
Well, football's a contact sport.
Yeah, but you don't. I mean, I don't know.
In basketball, you have officials in basketball can technically say,
I hope it's not.
Get your hand off this person.
I hope they don't take off take control of the game and start calling fouls all the time.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
I'll be real curious to see how many of the touch fouls we're going to get. Because if we're in a COVID world and everyone's like, well, listen, I don't want this on my watch. If I'm an official, I might start calling the touch fouls, I think, a lot more.
As an official, you have to trust that when the game starts, everything is fine, and just official the game like you would any basketball.
I agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that, and hopefully that's the case. Hopefully the game is not officiated in a different way.
It does drive me mad when I hear a referee say, get your hands off or whatever. It's like, so you saw the foul, but you're warning them to stop it instead of calling it.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna do one warning, but then after that, you're not gonna warn anyone anymore.
It's funny to hear that.
I mean, here's the thing. Why don't you? And I, again, as a former umpire, that this is something that I think makes sense. If you're a basketball official that does not like players being, quote, lazy by touching the other player, and that's kind of technically it's a lazy way of playing defense. Okay, I get that. If you're not a fan of that, you simply go to both coaches before the game and say, listen, here's what I'm going to be calling during the game. You're both forewarned right now. Tell your players you are not allowed to have any kind of contact. You're not allowed to put the hand on the person's back. No hand checking allowed. If you do any hand checking, I'm going to ring you up for the foul. That to me, that's how you officiate. You get both coaches together and say, this is what I'm going to be calling. You better tell these guys now, instead of get your hands off this person. That's my warning. No.
And I also don't buy it. Like, I hate when the refs make calls. I mean, I don't want this to turn into bashing referees. But when I see the anticipation calls, those drive me crazy. Like, they're running down the court. You're behind the play, so there's no way you saw if it was a foul or not. But you got to call it because it might have been a foul. Yeah. Those are the ones that really make me.
But I'm going to be real curious to see how the game is officiated differently during the COVID outbreak.
That'll be interesting as we go through the basketball season to see how it's officiated.
Yeah. That's something we'll definitely talk about when we officially go into the winter sports on Monday.
Right.
Best of luck to Warren JFK in Springfield.
Just want to break down our breaking news once again. All the games moved to Massillon. YSN will still be there tomorrow. Pre-game show starts at 12:30. Kickoff at 1 o'clock. DJ and Dom will have the call for JFK. We'll do the same thing on Sunday. Pre-game show will start at 4:45 because I think the Springfield game's still going to be 5:15.
Yeah.
I think it's still going to be 5:15.
Okay.
So we'll probably have it a half an hour before kickoff. Do your pre-game and then Joe Dickey Electric post-game show after both games with the coaches and all that. Level Up will be out about Springfield's state semifinal win on Saturday at 8. So keep your eye out for that, and we may have some basketball. So, hey, let's just go.
Best of luck to Springfield. Best of luck to Warren JFK. We're off tomorrow. I'll talk to you on Monday. Power Hour is coming up next. Anthony and I will talk to you on Monday, and hopefully we have two state champs to talk about.
We'll have some coaches call in to celebrate their state championships.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, that's what happens. You've been listening to Running Point